Good evening. I will now call to order the regular city council meeting of February 27th, 2023. Members of the public are invited to attend in-person council meetings in council chambers. Public access to the meeting is also available by telephone by using the call-in numbers posted on the meeting agenda. Meetings are broadcast on Channel 8 for Comcast and Xfinity subscribers and on the city's YouTube channel online. Joanna, will you call the roll, please?
Mayor Leidy,
Here.
Councilmember Long,
Here.
Councilmember Jaramillo,
Here.
Councilmember Kondo,
Here.
Councilmember Lukman Hiramasa. Here. Councilmember Goff,
Here.
Councilmember Brown,
Here.
Councilmember Walker.
Here.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
City Manager Guyer has stepped away, so I'm going to circle back. All right, well, let's begin with a Planning Commission interview. Stratus Mushabe, are you here? Hi, come forward. Nice to see you.
Thank you.
So you interviewed with the Planning Commission on February 21st, and they have recommended your appointment. So you are here in front of council so we can ask you a few questions and get to know you better. Do you want to just share a little bit about yourself and your interest in this?
Yes. Yeah, my name is Stratus Mushabe. I come from Uganda, and I came 6 years ago. But before I came, I was serving as a city clerk of a city called Mbarara. So I've had an experience of working with cities, and I've had all my trainings dedicated towards management of cities. And I served as a city deputy clerk for a period of more than 8 years. And during the time I served, I performed so many things. I was so innovative. I helped my council to develop. I helped my council to expand in terms of size, to acquire more space. And I helped my council to earn a lot of money. I was, as a deputy city clerk, I was a chairperson of the planning committee of our city. So we are developing ideas, forwarding them to council for discussion and for bylaw formulation. And after decisions have been formulated, I would be in charge of enforcing those decisions and implementation. In terms of developments, I was in charge of approving most of the plans of the council, and every 2 weeks, I would be having on my desk around 200 plans that I would put my signature on and have developments flagged off and taking place. So I'm interested in this position. Ever since I left that position, I've always had a high affinity for knowledge in urban development. So when I reached here 6 years ago, I always had feelings about the city in which I live. And North Glen is my first city. It's where I've settled. I'm a citizen of this great country, and I feel it is the city I can continue serving. And this opportunity having come up, I feel I can serve better in that position.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Councilmember Goff.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to say welcome. I do remember talking to you a couple of years ago. I think you were interested in this kind of work. And I'm glad you persisted, and welcome.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Councilmember Lukman Hiramasa.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just want to say thank you so much for volunteering and stepping up. Really interested to see what you'll bring to the Planning Commission with all of your experience. I think it'll be very interesting and look forward to seeing what you do. But welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Jaramillo.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I want to say your resume is very impressive, especially with your work you've done in Uganda and your background in public administration and city management. I think you'll bring a worldly perspective to North Glen, and we're happy to have you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Brown.
I just wanted to thank you for stepping up. I've served on the Planning Commission a couple times, and I think you're really going to enjoy it. They're a great group of people, and I think you'll have a new perspective maybe to bring to it, even though obviously things are different, but I think you really will enjoy it, and I appreciate you stepping forward to accept your nomination.
Thank you.
And I would conclude by saying congratulations and thank you. I think we're really going to benefit from your skill set, all of the knowledge that you bring. So thank you so much.
You're welcome, and thank you so much.
I have.
Thank you. All right. Well, thanks. Have a great night.
See, that was virtually painless. We just like to see everybody.
I'm going to circle back really quickly to item number 4 to see City Manager Guyer if there's any responses to citizen inquiry.
Nothing this evening, Mayor and Council. Thank
Okay,
you.
just checking.
Thank you.
Okay, we have 2 presentations tonight. The first one is the Youth Commission Annual Report. So we have Youth Commission members Alex and Nosley here with us. Come on up to present your annual report.
Hi everyone, my name is Nazi Sufiani and I'm the Secretary of the Northglen Youth Commission.
Hello, I'm Alex Sundu and I'm the Treasurer of Northland Youth Commission.
Tonight we're here to present to you our 2022 annual report. We'll start out by talking about some of our community engagement this year.
Can you move the microphone just a little bit closer? Or could you sit up there? Thank you. I want the residents to be able to hear you too.
Perfect. Community engagement. So we worked with the Tri-County Health Department this year as a part of their Youth Coalition and Healthy Beverages Committee.
Go ahead and speak in.
Okay. So we'll start out with community engagement. This year we worked with the Tri-County Health Department, also known as the Adams County Health Department now, on their Healthy Beverages Committee and Youth Coalition. So we have 2 members, Elizabeth and Isaiah, who've been serving on this board for about the past year. And recently we had a joint meeting with them in September of this year where they recruited Mira, another member of ours, and myself to join this coalition. Since then, we have done lots of work in helping them understand the youth perspective of drinking sugary beverages. And we're continuing to work with them on passing a local ordinance that requires Northglen restaurants to advertise healthier drink options in Bundle Kids menus.
Another aspect of our community engagement was Gaming with the Chief, which is a project that we started with the DICE board, the Diversity, Inclusivity, and Social Equity Board, that focuses on having youth and teens engaged to a positive cop influence, and also includes them playing with the chief in board games, maybe painting some miniature figures, and it has been successful since it started on February 1st. This year, we had some priority projects, first of which was addressing homelessness, which we also worked with the DICE board. And we were proud to show that when we worked with people experiencing homelessness, we were able to serve meals and assist with the city's temporary homeless shelter. And that also later led to a pop-up school supply drive at Noel Northland. Another aspect of our priority projects was overall just working with the Diversity, Inclusivity, and Social Equity Board. This included the 2021 listening session, which sparked our desire to work with them and uplift you. Okay. Sorry. Sorry, Belinda. And work with youth overall to uplift their voices. We also hosted a joint, not hosted a joint meeting, we attended a joint meeting in May and then later hosted and volunteered for an AAPI booth with them. And that culminated into hopefully a future relationship with them forever.
During this year, we also had the opportunity to volunteer at a lot of different North Glen events, one of which was our flower bed planting at EB Rains, where we were able to plant marigolds in our parks, and this helped us connect with each other as well as the North Glen community.
Another aspect of us volunteering with the Youth Commission is Safe Streets Halloween, which Youth Commission set up a booth where we decorated cookies for passerby kids. It was overall fun, and while, you know, the cookies did run out by the end of the night, we were able to enjoy some marshmallows. We are sad to see go, but happy to see continue on with their lives with college. Our recent graduates, Elizabeth Honorcy and Ben Cathhart, who both have served over 4 years on Youth Commission and have made a tremendous impact.
During the end of this year, we were also able to set some of our priority goals for the 2023 year. This included 3 main areas of focus. The first being public health. We were inspired by our work with the Tri-County Health Department and decided to, number 1, learn more about public health and issues facing the North Glen community, as well as host our own events throughout the years that are more catered towards youth. Second was community engagement. Through our volunteer work, we were inspired to create our own opportunities to help benefit the community and promote events through social media to increase our attendance. And then lastly, we also wanted to do a little side project by just updating our bylaws. We're going to take time to review and revise these bylaws, and we have decided to dedicate a work meeting to this process.
To round off such a busy year, we hosted a holiday party where we made a gingerbread house, played some Nintendo games, and overall had fun with our fellow team members and ate some food. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, let's see if there's any questions from council.
I'll make.
Oh, yes, Councilmember Goff.
Thank you. I just want to say thank you so much. The Diversity, Inclusivity, and Social Equity Board has very much appreciated your perspective and your enthusiasm and all the hard work you've put in this past year, so thank you.
Thank you. We love working with you guys.
Councilmember Lookman-Hiramasa.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thanks to both of you. I know how hard you work because I get to see it as your liaison. All of that extra time that you put in after school hours, in addition to homework assignments. It's a lot and it's admirable. They put all this together, so I know they put a lot of work into it. And I just want to say congratulations and keep that up, all right? You're doing a great job. And I look forward to seeing what you all have to do in 2023, just now. For the rest of it.
Councilmember Jaramillo.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to say I appreciate your youthful perspectives on all of these issues. You definitely bring perspective that a lot of older generations, including myself as a millennial, I see like it's good that hearing younger Gen Z future leaders really stepping up, and this is great. Also, I thought it was really cool that you guys, or that everybody in your organization is planting marigolds because they're perennials, and in the Aztec language of Nahuatl, they're called cempasúchils, and they're tied with Dia de los Muertos, so maybe you can like tie something in with that too, which would be really cool. So you'll see a lot of marigold art when you see like Dia de los Muertos, because it's supposed to have such a strong scent that it brings the dead back to life, essentially. That's kind of like one of those things. So I thought that was really cool. I just thought of that, and I don't know if that was intended or not, but just a little something I thought would be something cool to think about too, since you mentioned Safe Street Halloween, and, you know, maybe we bring something like Dia de los Muertos more here to North Glen too. Plant another seed there for you guys, since you're doing the cultivating of these flowers, but great work. Keep it up.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Checking, so I don't miss anybody. So I had a quick question. This is amazing information, but I noticed you did graduate 2 of your members. Do you have plans for how you can recruit new members?
So earlier, I think it was last year, we held a recruiting session where we ordered food and we handed out flyers at our own individual schools and just reached out to anybody that we knew who we thought would be interested. And we did get a few participants for that. So maybe doing an event like that again would benefit us.
This is extremely thorough and really is a amazing representation of the work that you did. And you should just really be proud of it. So we appreciate you. Thank you for presenting tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving into public invited to be heard. This is an opportunity for public comment on any item not set for public hearing. Statements are limited to 5 minutes per speaker. Statements must be related to city business and limited to matters of community interest. Joanna, has anyone signed up tonight?
Nobody has signed up in advance.
Okay. Is there anyone in the audience who didn't have a chance to sign up that would like to speak to council? Are you sure? Okay, just checking. All right, moving into communications. I
Madam
will
Mayor, I'm
Yes.
sorry to interrupt,
That's okay.
but there's a second presentation from the Arts and Humanities Foundation
Oh, my
tonight.
goodness. So sorry. I skipped right over it. Thank you. All right, yes, thank you. I was wondering, I thought he was gonna be for public comment. I was like, okay. I can't believe I missed that. I'm so sorry. So Michael Stricker, our Recreation Manager and Arts and Humanities Foundation Director, is here. Thank you.
Of course.
My
absolutely.
apologies.
That's okay. That's okay. It's a full night. Thank you very much, Mayor Leidy and City Council, for having me here tonight. I am the Arts, Culture, and Community Manager for the City of North Glen. One of my main responsibilities is working as the Director of the North Glen Arts and Humanities Foundation. And I would love to introduce some of the board members that are actually here this evening. So we have our board chair, Jill Parsons, is here. Secretary Laura Bockel is here as well. Rosie Garner, board member. Lucia Rivera, board member. Joyce Downing, who you might know, is also a board member. And then we have Kit Steffen, who is our treasurer. I think that's everybody. Yeah. So there you go. There's some of our board members. It's always my pleasure to get to present to you where the NHF has been the past year and where we are going. So thank you again. The NHF was established in 1990. It exists to ensure the access to arts for all. The NHF maintains and nurtures the cultural arts for the benefit of the community. It is a separately run 501c3, currently with 10 volunteer board members of various backgrounds and expertise. Donna Cole is on there twice. She's fantastic, but she doesn't need to be on there twice. My bad. 2 additional community members have shown an interest in joining as well, so this number may grow over the next couple of months. The board has 2 non-voting members, Councilmember Jaramillo, and then myself as the director. The NHF complete their own financial review and 990 each year, manage their own budgets, meet monthly throughout the year, and volunteer for events. The NHF Board of Directors' job is to provide funding, advocacy, and guidance for North Glen arts programs and to work on a very hands-on level with public art programs. They are a very dedicated board, putting in several hours a month beyond board meetings to ensure that the mission is being met. So the North Glen Arts is a marketing term or messaging umbrella for the many, many programs that the city, in partnership with the NHF, provides to the public. North Glen Arts includes these 3 categories of programs. We have North Glen Youth Theater, which is our flagship program that started in 1994. NYT Junior was created just a few years ago to meet the needs of our younger actors, 8 to 12. NYT Academy includes specialized classes, camps, and workshops. Missoula is a great one-week program that introduces kids to the theater process. And then Northglenn Arts Presents, which includes national and regional tours and local collaborations with other SCFD-funded organizations. And then we also have a number of special events that you see here, and I'll go into some detail on some of those in a bit. And then we have our public art programs. Art on Parade is our oldest program. That's a sculpture on loan program. We have our permanent collection, which is a city asset. Large-scale commissions that have been added to the collection, as well as the sculpture garden, which is over at Centennial Park. And then we also have our indoor gallery. I'll highlight some of those others in a moment, but the large gallery wall near the community rooms in the new facility is the newest addition to our public art offerings. The NHF worked throughout 2022 with the Chicano Humanities and Arts Council, or CHOC. They curated a new exhibit every quarter celebrating diverse artists and mediums. The first quarter of this year, we are working with Betty Grace Gibson's family on an incredible exhibit of her work celebrating her life as an artist and arts advocate. Betty was one of the founding members of the NAHF back in the 90s and also helped found the Palletiers in Westminster, whom we partnered with for several years in the old space. With regards to programming, it should be noted Northglenn Arts continues to work very closely with the events division of the city on many levels, including equipment and information sharing, some tiny collaborations on events, and then for general planning purposes. After 45 years in the old space, the move in 2021, 2022 represents the first full year of programming in the new Parsons Theater, and it indeed was a very successful year for us. It really was. The Parsons Theater is currently the largest facility of its kind in Adams County. Not only does it house all of Northglenn Arts programs, which you'll see here in a second, it also welcomed 25 local performing arts groups that rented the space. These rental groups represent a wide range of missions, but are primarily dance, heritage events, and school groups. So over 35,000 people attended a production in the Parsons Theater in 2022. That does include a few thousand people that attended our summer concerts and movies as well. It's an extraordinary number, especially considering that we were still feeling the effects of the pandemic at the beginning of the year, if you can remember that far back. However, people of every age and background benefited as audience members and as active participants through Northglenn Arts' expanding scope of programs. 1,100 participated in Northglenn Youth Theater, Missoula Children's Theater, NYT Academy, and cultural classes. The extremely popular and growing NYT Academy continued to provide rigorous and specialized theatrical training for youth. So of that number, 705 youth participated in often sold-out NYT Academy programs, which include voice lessons, dance for the actor, skill and age-based acting classes, improv, and much more. Demand continues to grow, so we will continue to surpass this number in 2023. We're already trending much higher than last year. So the NHF received $330,000 in grants in 2022. $60,000 of that was the Colorado Creative Industries grant to help fund the new City Hall Public Art Project. A $4,000 Tour West grant from the Western States Arts Federation for Northglenn Arts Presents, which includes our touring shows. Then we also received $7,500 from the Colorado Creates grant, and that's for general operating support. And then the biggest number in there is $266,000 from the SCFD. So the Scientific and Cultural Facilities District, or SCFD, grants over $60 million to arts and science organizations in the Denver metro region every year. So think everything from the Denver Zoo to the Denver Center for the Performing Arts, all the way to the Northglenn Arts and Humanities Foundation. The Colorado Business Committee for the Arts reported that the $64 million distributed by the SCFD in 2019 created $435 million in economic activity. This includes job creation, attendance, school outreach, hitting a restaurant before the show, and various other activity, like buying gas. Northglenn Arts is a part of that story. We bring hundreds and sometimes thousands of people each week to the city through our programs. The 2022 SCFD funds awarded to the NHF constitutes one of the highest awards in all of Adams County. We're very proud of that. Slide here. And now for some theater program highlights. And this is the direct result of the strategic plan. North Glen Youth Theater turned 28 last year. Due to the move to the new space, we were able to expand from our traditional 3 shows to 6 in a year. And that was directly out of the strategic plan. These are fully designed and realized productions with professional designers and builders, helping create a large-scale theatrical experience for youth. 191 youth performed in 31 public performances to an audience of over 8,000 attendees. North Glen has been hosting Missoula Children's Theater since 1988. They returned once again for a residency in 2022 with 54 youth performing in 2 public performances to an audience of 331. 2022 also included special events like the Daddy-Daughter Sweetheart Ball and many others. But we also executed several collaborations. We partnered with the North Glen Senior Organization, first on the travel film series that now includes a themed lunch option, the North Glen Youth Theater dinner theater offerings, which has become a tradition, and helped bring the Colorado Chord Company a cappella group to the Veterans Day celebration. We also partnered with North Glen High School on 2 programs, one, the Poetry Performance Night, and the photography projects. And with Anythink Libraries, we collaborated to bring a mobile library of Dr. Seuss books to the lobby for the run of North Glen Youth Theater's production of Seussical the Musical. It was very popular, as well as providing the Parsons Theater for the premiere film night of Series Fest. We also partnered with the Colorado Symphony for their Petite Musique program. It's a bilingual interactive children's story program that promotes music education, and it played to 843 elementary school students from the area. 2022 also saw the expansion of the North Glen Arts Presents series. This was a big investment in time throughout the strategic planning, and we got to see some of the results of that this last year. So North Glen Arts brought in 2 Colorado Fine Arts Association productions, one a South Asian classical dance festival, and then the Indian Raga of the Rockies. We also brought in Cleo Parker Robinson Dance's One People, Many Voices, the Disability Affirmative Family Theater Company's production of The Spitfire Grill, 2 Colorado Symphony concerts, 3 Colorado Jazz Repertory Orchestra concerts, Face Vocal Band, Black Arts Festival. Also, to your earlier point, Councilmember Jaramillo, we had the Rhythm of the Arts production of Sugar Skull, a Dia de los Muertos musical adventure back in October. That was a huge hit. And then to top it all off, we had 2 holiday shows. Miracles, a Cantorai celebration from around the world, and then Motones and Jersey's Holiday Hi-Fi. So it was a busy year. We had over almost 4,400 people came to one of those shows. So now moving outside, celebrating its 33rd anniversary, the Summer Concert Series included 6 bands to approximately 1,300 people in attendance. The concerts included the continued added amenities of a beer garden and food trucks. The beer garden is actually a fundraiser for the NEHF. The Summer Movie Series was back for its 9th year and played to about 100 attendees, and residents do get to select what is shown every summer on an online vote in January. All movies are also shown with Spanish subtitles. The Teddy Bear Picnic celebrated its 30th anniversary, so it was a big year for us, in 2022 with 150 little ones and their favorite stuffed animals being entertained by Animal Farm Band. It's a great band. Boulder-based Butterfly Effect Theater Company brought their newly created production of Amelia's Big Idea to Festival Lawn, where 80 youth learned about how they can build better communities. And with regards to public art, the NHF first venture into public art was in 2000 with the Art on Parade program. Art on Parade is an annual sculpture on loan program that is driven by resident and park visitor selection. So submissions come in from around the country. A large volunteer committee selects 6 finalists to go in E.B. Raines Jr. Memorial Park, and then North Glen residents and park visitors vote on those final 6 to select the People's Choice winner. The NHF then purchases the winning sculpture, installs it, and then gifts it to the city as part of its permanent collection. So last year's winner was American Steel Eagle, which you can see here on the slide, by Brighton resident Vanny Channel. Vanny is a Cambodian American. His parents came here as refugees in 1983, having survived the killing fields of Cambodia. Vanny had been working in a metal fabrication shop in Denver for years, and in 2013 took up scrap metal sculpting. He's a terrific artist, and he was thrilled to win the People's Choice Award. So I'll be back actually in a few months with an NAHF recommendation for a permanent installation of that piece. In addition to Art on Parade, large-scale commissions have also been added to the collection. The most recent one is Illumination in the theater lobby. The next large-scale public art project is already underway for the new City Hall. I'll be back again here in April to give you an update on the progress we've made. The mayor and city council members Goff and Jaramillo are on the artist selection and design committee. We've still got a lot of work to do before April, but it's promising to be another great addition to the city's collection. So the entire public art collection, I do always like to point out, is listed on Artwork Archive. It's an online platform that provides an interactive public portfolio. You can find it at northglenarts.org or on the city's website. With regards to the I-25 mural, tunnel mural, the original artist, Chad Bolzinger, who you can see in the picture here, was hired to maintain the 311-foot tunnel mural. It's on both sides and the ceiling. However, the mural has received subsequent substantial damage this past month, so the piece will be evaluated as part of the crime prevention through environmental design, or the CPTED process. So there's going to be more information coming out about that. Okay, so here's the financial structure. This is how it all works between the Northglenn Arts and Humanities Foundation and the city. So Northglenn Arts revenues are divided essentially between contributed and earned income. Generally speaking, the contributed income, so grants and donations, flow through the NAHF, and the earned revenue goes to the city. So as an example, the Northglenn Youth Theater production of The Descendants that's coming up. The SCFD grant funds and donations will go through the NAHF to pay for the production. And then all of the ticket sales and registrations that are generated by the show go to the city. As you can see, the per capita funds are what kicks this off. So once per capita funds are released by City Council, the NAHF is then able to apply for the SCFD grant, generate donations and other grants to then pay for the programs generating earned revenue for the city. The NAHF also generates revenue through outdoor concession sales and merchandise sales, as well as some investment income. As you can see on the city side, all theater rental income goes to the city as well. And so this is how we then spend the money. The NAHF mostly covers production costs, so think sets, props, costumes, etc. The NAHF also covers the majority of theater contractors throughout the year, like designers and technicians and builders, etc. And then the NAHF also covers all public art maintenance as well as purchases. The city pays for salaried employees that make all of this happen. The city also pays for all facility and equipment costs, ticketing and registration, custodial services, many of our presenting partners, and class instructors. And as you can see, there are a few shared costs, but this is the basic structure. So although 2022 and 2021 saw the cancellation or modification of many theater programs, it became a seminal moment of transition in preparation for the new Parsons Theater. So the NAHF embraced the struggles caused by the pandemic, social unrest, and political upheaval to go through a rebirth of sorts. The NAHF reevaluated its mission and programming goals and how they affect the new space, which resulted in a newly developed strategic plan that was implemented in 2021. The NAHF vision is to capitalize on 45 years of arts programming and greatly increase Northglenn's profile as an artist destination for decades to come. We will do this through expanded quality programming, inclusive storytelling, engaging our diverse community, providing excellent patron and participant experiences, and safeguarding access to the arts for all. There are several goals outlined in the plan, but I'll highlight just a few. The NAHF will achieve its vision by advocating Northglenn Arts' interest at the county and regional level, recognizing and acting on market demand, increasing the value proposition by offering a wider range of performing arts experiences at a commensurate ticket price, and ensuring that our artistic practices nurture and affirm all artists, participants, and audiences through programming that is representative of the city's diversity, inclusivity, and social equity values. So in other words, we will match a brand-new, high-quality and dynamic facility with high-quality and dynamic programming. And specifically, we are now doing this through this particular strategic plan, but also looking further out. The NAHF has hired Stillwell Consulting of Fort Collins to work on a new long-range plan. This coincides and complements the Parks and Recreation long-range plan and will work together. Our plan will take a comprehensive look at where we've been, where we are, and what we envision North Glen Arts to look like 15 to 20 years from now. Just a couple of quick highlights on that. We're going to specifically answer, how does the quality and proximity of the Parsons Theater and outdoor facilities compare to local and national benchmarks? How can North Glen prepare for future adjacent municipal theaters that are potentially in development? What investment should the city anticipate making to improve or expand Parsons Theater arts and culture programs in the next 15 to 20 years to meet those demands? So to continue North Glen Arts' success, the $2 per capita funds will be used going forward for long-standing programs, the further expansion of North Glen Arts Presents, our expanding public art programs, and will be utilized to submit for continued SCFD and other fundraising efforts. So the release of per capita funds will help ensure that North Glen Arts continues to set the standard for theater and arts programming in Adams County. So thank you very much for letting me present. The release of per capita funds is on the consent agenda, but I'd be more than happy to take any questions now.
Thank you. Councilmember Jaramillo?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just want to say that I am proud and impressed with the wide expansion and growth of NAHF since you reached out to me in 2015 to be a board member. So I want to thank you for that, because I learned a lot from every board member that we have here as a mentor for me to help me envision to be here. So thank you for reaching out to me with Olive Branch, and it's been some of the best experience, really. But I want to say that we have really gained a wider scope of and a broader spectrum for our programming since that time, and I'm so proud. And also, yeah, I just see, we're really what gives North Glen a lot of our notoriety to people. See our sculptures and they see them in our facilities, and then now I'm just seeing the expansion of our creative and our creative performing arts, I want to say, in our new facility. And it's, wow, I gotta say, if you haven't attended a show here at our new Parsons Theater, you need to go. It's a great time, and we're bringing in people from I couldn't get from coming from Denver to cross I-70. They're coming out here, and I have family from Brighton coming to see it. So it's like, wow, like people that you couldn't get to leave their comfort zones are coming to North Glen. So we're doing something right. So I want to say I'm very proud. And like I said, I'm impressed, and I think you'll all be impressed with the future art that we have coming. So stay tuned.
Thank you.
Councilmember Brown?
Michael, you're fabulous, and the foundation is fabulous, and I really appreciate all the work that you guys have put into it. It's amazing, the artwork we have around the city. I have two favorite pieces, but the one that makes me smile is the butterfly. I think it's a butterfly over by the Justice Center. Every time I come around that corner, it just makes me laugh, So I like that one a lot. I also like the buffalo in the park. I'm so sorry. I have a question for you on behalf of my residents.
Yes.
How many families or how many tickets did we sell or allow to be sold for the father-daughter dance? Everybody that doesn't get to go whines because they, may have waited too long to get their tickets, little things like that. But I'm wondering, how many people do we accommodate?
Yeah, so we usually accommodate around 165 to 180. A lot of times too, it's also has to do with the deadline, because we have to be able to order catering and all the gifts for the guests and that kind of thing. But it's usually like around 165 to 180.
I think as it gets bigger and bigger, and it really stirred a lot of excitement this year. I don't know if it's because, my granddaughters both wanted to go and Nana didn't let them know in time or something. I went, oh, father-daughter. My daddy's not here. I can't go. But, maybe if there's any way we can expand upon it, because it was a big deal.
Yeah.
They weren't angry that they were angry at themselves for not getting the tickets in time. Amanda, the girls looked beautiful, as did your husband. I just, for us last minute people, that's who I'm speaking to. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great job, though.
Councilmember Long?
Curiosity question.
Yes.
The Children's Theater out of Missoula. Are you
Yes.
connected with the University of Montana Theater Department by chance, or in the past somewhere?
I'm actually not. No.
I was curious. My daughter went there, and
Oh, okay.
she was very lucky to get in. She went through a whole lot to find her way. But
Yeah,
I was a curiosity as to the connection.
Yeah, Missoula Children's Theater's been going for several decades, and back in the old facility, so this was far before my time, but sort of in the mid '80s, the old theater had gone kind of dark. It just wasn't getting programmed very often, and one of the first programs that the director did at the time to kind of get things going again was work with Missoula Children's Theater, and so since 1988, we've had them here as a residency, and so
Incredible.
you'll see them pop up kind of all over the North Metro area, but we always commit to it because it has such a great little entry level for especially littles to get in and see what theater's like.
It's a wonderful legacy you've established, so thank you for
Yeah,
that.
thank you.
Thank you. I've had a full cup of coffee now, so I'm not going to skip anything else, I hope. And please don't take that as a lack of support, because I love the foundation and the work that you do with the city. You are doing so much with a little, and that's really impressive. My favorite phrase that you used tonight was access to the arts for all, and that, I think, is just a lovely mission, and you are doing it. I mean, this was a very thorough presentation, so thank you for coming tonight, and it was good to see everyone on the board. Thank you for your work.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Night.
Okay, I'll do one more shout out for public invited to be heard. Any takers? No? Just checking. Okay, moving into communications. I will start with Ward 1, Councilmember Walker.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just want to give a few updates. I did a ride along with Officer Shub, and I recommend if any of you guys haven't, to see what our officers go through on a day-to-day basis. It's very eye-opening, and thank you, Chief, for the opportunity to do it. An update from the CML policy meeting about 2 weeks ago. There was really no hot-button issues that didn't get resolved, so it was a very quiet session as compared to years past. Also, I just want to take a moment to recognize former council member Ashley Wickovich. I'm sad that we did not get to say a formal goodbye to her. And sorry to hear that the article about her recently did not celebrate her accomplishments and lift her up as a story for anyone getting into politics. It was through sheer perseverance after losing her first election that she stuck around, won her second one, and served the city for a wonderful many years. And so I want to thank her for her service, and I hope we get to celebrate her soon. And that's all I have for my personal updates.
That was very sweet, thank you. Councilmember Brown?
Ashley's doing really well, so you know. I spoke to her yesterday. So I attended the police awards, as did many other people on council. And I'd like to thank Chief again for letting us come. You know, I found it interesting how many people, Joyce and I were talking about this today. We've really watched grow up in the police department, Not many people got the Jerry Lund joke, but it was pretty funny. I've seen just so many of them, and I just really appreciate, watching them grow up through the police department and the wonderful men and women that they've become, and I really appreciated being there. It was a great ceremony. Chris, is it Gutierrez? Joe Gutierrez. What a superstar. He must have an entire room filled with awards and accommodations, but it was great. I attended the Dutch Brothers ribbon cutting, where the owner and operator is now my close personal friend because we visited every morning for the last 5 days. Yeah, so we're getting along really well. Love her to death. And then we had our Ward 2 meeting last week. And first of all, I'd like to thank staff for putting on such a great event. And it was one of the coldest nights. And I really thought that Jay and I would be walking in there and going, all right, we can go home and go to bed now, grab a sandwich. But we had a really good showing. We talked about a lot of things. We had Liz Anderson from Excel there. Awesome presentation. I think it helped. I'm looking at Diana because she helped us get that all together. It really helped explain some things to me and the residents too. They enjoyed it. I think that what I would like to see moving forward when we have those kind of people at our ward meetings is maybe if we could record it, you know, have someone come in, you want to come visit me, you know it. Come and record it so we can share it online and share all that great knowledge that we got from her. Because, you know, it's not a huge audience, but it made a lot of sense. I called Excel the next day. You know, I want to do this, and I don't have my new meter yet. So that was really, really good. We talked about the new safety plan that we're going to vote on tonight, taken in very well by the residents that were there. I didn't hear any complaints. Did you?
No.
No. Most of the overall, I mean, the meeting was great. Got a lot of compliments afterwards. I would say that the echo was the streets, and only in the fact that we've had Excel come through and make some repairs and completely screwed up our streets. So Excel is in the process. Excel, trust me, I want a front end alignment from them. So Excel has made a commitment to a couple of the streets that still only have dirt on them for after 3 months and are going to look into the situation and take care of it for us. I'd like to thank Heather for really getting involved in that and making sure that they're all fixed. What else? We had Jimmy John's sandwiches. I should probably, and Jay's mother and father who are always there to cheer him on. I love his parents. Other than that, I don't have anything else to share.
Great, thank you. Councilmember Jaramillo?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It's been a few weeks since I've reported communications. A couple weeks ago, I was a pallbearer for my first cousin, Paul, and he won gold, silver, and bronze in the Special Olympics in swimming, so wanted to, say I'm proud of him, too. On February 6th, I attended the Adams County Youth Awards. That was the last night that we met. It was really interesting to hear all the stories and all the success stories from the youth here in North Glen and throughout Adams County.
Thank you.
Very inspiring. And then on the 16th of February, we had the North Glen Arts and Humanities Foundation Art on Parade Selection Committee. So everybody here, we were there. So we have, is it 6? Yeah, we have 6 sculptures that are going to be going up hopefully when it warms up in in a couple months. So you can expect that, and also our new sculpture, American Steel Eagle, will be coming up soon in a public park near you. Okay, and then on February 17th, I attended a roundtable discussion with Adams County Commissioner Lynn Baca. She invited me for the Hispanic Heritage Month celebration in September 16th. So we'll be looking to do a countywide celebration, and we're still thinking on the name. I won't say it yet. It's pretty catchy, so I think that you'll see it coming soon, and we're moving right now. We got to make it happen in September. So February 9th, I attended also a ride-along with Sergeant Shub, and it's been really eye-opening being there. You know, on the front, everybody, we don't understand quite what a lot of our police are dealing with at all times. There's different calls. I actually had a neighbor on Downing Street that passed away, and we drove up to their house, and that's what it can be as well. It's not just domestic violence or anything. Like, we did also see that, but it could be just somebody like your neighbor. So that happened to me personally. So condolences to the family on Downing Street. Also, the Ward 2 meeting, that was successful. I'm glad that Excel was there, and American Construction, is that the name? They're the experts, so I wanted to make sure they were out there answering those questions, because those are the majority of the questions they had, our constituents had. Then I attended a legislative breakfast with State Representative Jenny Wilford, also at the state capitol. She gave us a shout out in the House of Representatives in the Capitol. So that was pretty neat, just to see how everything operates. like I said, we have really good order here on the dais. It's a little more wild out there. I did not expect that. And then also today, I had the meeting with Lysandra Gonzalez. She's the CEO of the Rocky Mountain Partnership, and we're going to be talking more about housing, workforce housing, things like that on Thursday. So this was just like a refresher. So when Thursday comes, we'll have some more insight on what that's all going to entail. But yeah, that's it for me.
Thank you. Councilmember Condo.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. First of all, had a working lunch with Councilmember Brown and Heather Geyer back on the 13th. I think that was very productive discussions that we have offline to continue to build strong working relationships. The next day, I was a presenter of the awards at the Senior Senator Chili Cook-Off. We had people that were voting also from North Metro Fire Rescue District, the deputy chief there. So certainly we had firefighters to put out the fire. On the Thursday, I attended the CML legislative workshop, which was an all-day session in downtown Denver. It's very interesting. At that time, there was about 170 bills that were being floated, which is a lot. I think that the session was very productive in that, they narrowed it down to just those proposals that have an impact on local control, and was able to give us a Reader's Digest version, if you will, so that we can understand all the issues. The Denver mayor had opened the session for us, and actually Governor Paulus came and spoke during the lunchtime session. So again, it was a great opportunity to meet with folks from all over the state and hear from some very senior people. Finally, Dr. Cog meeting was on the 15th, and I think there's going to be a discussion about the transit improvement program, fourth tranche, in later on this evening. But I think that's the final and last tranche of monies that are going to be awarded. So I'm really happy to see that through the county, the city is applying for these opportunities to receive grant funding. Finally, the only other thing I have going is on March 9th, we will be having a handshake meeting. I call it a handshake meeting with some key people, Dr. Reif, and also interested parties who are equally committed to trying to figure out how to solve the persons experiencing homelessness. And I guess you could throw in there accessible, affordable, and workforce housing related matters. And we're going to be doing that on March 9th. And I think that'll be a great opportunity to find people who are very committed and passionate about trying to find a solution, since Adams County is telling the cities we need to come up with a plan. So this will really be a first step in the right direction. That's all I have for this evening, Mayor.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Goff.
Thank you, Mayor. I did attend two ribbon cuttings, and I want to welcome two new businesses to North Glen. One was Scissor Hands Color Studio, and the other was Another, Dutch Brothers Coffee, so we're lucky to have two of them. On February 21st, the American Anti-Defamation League presentation, people came to give a presentation on hate crimes, and it was very educational and interesting. That was sponsored by the Dice Board. On February 22nd, we had the Police Award Ceremony, which was, again, so amazing. We have such wonderful people that, and they do such brave and amazing things, so thank you, Chief. February 24th was a legislative breakfast that has been mentioned, and we did meet with Representative Jenny Wilford and Senator Winter. And then I just want to mention that I was not able to attend the last city council meeting, and I want to officially welcome Councilmember Tim Long. I also feel like I need to respond to some comments that were made at the last meeting. We have many different people on city council, each with their own take on things. This variety of perspectives and voices gives us the energy to come up with creative solutions to problems and can hopefully reflect the diversity of our residents. Even when the different voices lead to uncomfortable conversations, it's important to hear them. So this is my take on how this council has always made appointments and chosen someone to be mayor pro tem. As long as I've been on council, We have always followed the law and the city charter. Each time we've chosen new positions for the committees and commissions, including Mayor Pro Tem, there have been some one-to-one communications. The public process is a nomination and a vote, and if the nomination isn't seconded, or the vote is not a majority, then another nomination is made, and this can just keep going on and on. Personally, I want to know who's interested and how many people are interested in the same position before I make up my mind. I worry that our residents might get the wrong impression about how North Glen City Council does business. For one thing, we have experienced legal counsel who keeps us in line. I'm very proud of the work the city council does. My constituents know that they can call me if they have questions or concerns about city council decisions. I'm always happy to explain. If a council member has had a different experience, they are free to say so, but one voice does not always give the whole picture, and now you've heard from me, and thank you. That's it for me. Thank you.
Councilmember Long.
My only comment is to remind everyone that North Metro Fire Rescue District is in need of some new board members. The election will take place on May 2nd. You can vote at the Station 62 or at the corporate headquarters for the North Metro Fire Rescue District, which is on 120th and Spader Way. I would really encourage you, and if I might share one, I've noticed that one of the candidates is our own Councilman Rich Kondo. Thank you. And thank you for the greeting, Councilman. Appreciate it. Thank you all.
Councilmember Lukman Hiramasa.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would just like to echo Councilmember Walker about Ashley Witkovich and thank her for her service because she was a great asset to this council and she will be sorely missed. I just wanted to add that. Last week was a busy week. I attended the first North Glen Senior organizational meeting that I have in quite a while. Since I'm back as liaison. And it was really just fantastic catching up with everybody in the organization. They were spending a lot of time talking about their different events and hosting different events and what they need to keep on the schedule, what they don't. And then, of course, they voiced concerns about speeding. So I did offer a little bit of information about our safety-sensitive zone, which we will be discussing tonight. And they seem pretty pleased and pretty interested in learning more about that. I attended the ADL session that was hosted by DICE, just because, well, it was very informational. There's no room for hate, first of all. I'll start with that. But the Youth Commission was also a part of that, and it was very important to attend to support them and to support DICE. I also attended the North Glen Police Department Awards, and as everybody's echoed, I would just like to say thank you so much for your service. I appreciate every single man and woman that serves on the police department, as well as our crisis response unit team, everybody that was recognized in some way, shape, or form. I'm very appreciative of everything that they give to the city. I also attended Dutch Brothers ribbon cutting, delicious coffee, and my first PBL, problem-based learning at North Glen High School. Their theme was patriotism, and it was really interesting since a lot of our students are new to this country. Their parents have, I met kids whose parents just moved here recently, like once. So English is kind of a barrier for them, and yet their presentations were great. It was amazing to hear what their version of patriotism was, or what they are learning that it, in their minds, what it can be. A lot of the kids, teenagers, had no idea what patriotism even was or meant. So this actually was really informative and got their minds thinking on what that means to them. Attended the legislative breakfast and Capitol tour with everybody else. And then today, the legislative committee recap, which is what I will quickly go over here and organize my notes. There's not a lot happening. It is day 50, and 430 bills have been introduced so far. Mostly, they're looking at sunset reviews coming up soon, but we were told it was local government light right now. So a lot of legislation we've already heard here on council before. One that did come up and is important to note, because Councilmember Walker will be testifying on behalf of the city or representing the city on this bill, is HB 1202, the Overdose Prevention and Authorization centers bill. And this bill specifies that a city may authorize the operation of an overdose prevention center with the city's jurisdiction for the purpose of saving the lives of persons at risk of preventable overdoses. That's a summary. So we took a support stance on that because local control first and foremost. If Councilmember Walker wishes to add anything to that, feel free to do so.
Thank you, Councilmember Shannon. I just want to, Ms. Shannon went over everything quite well. And basically what this bill is doing is allowing us to have the say to whether we want to do something or not doing something. It is not us taking a position saying we are going to set up one if we support this bill. And so this is basically just a way for us to have the control and not letting Denver tell us what we're going to do. And like Councilmember Lukeman Herrenmoss said, it is in line with our legislative policy for the city, and also we have a strong support of local control, which is why we are going to support this tomorrow or on Wednesday down at the Capitol. Thank you.
Thank you. The newest bill that we haven't heard about before, that we took a support stance on, is SB 150, and it is required labeling for disposable wipes. And it is exactly what the title says. So it is just requiring a label from manufacturers, distributors, et cetera, of pre-moistened wipes to say, do not flush. As we know, it's a real problem for cities and the septic systems. So of course, we took a support stance on that. It is in line with our legislative policy as well. Other bills are just bills that we've heard before. The ozone bill, we were in a monitor position. We went ahead and took a full support after our legislative breakfast recap and the questions that we were able to ask. Auto theft bill is still in a support. We had support with amendments, but it looks like the amendments aren't going to happen, so we're just supporting the bill as it is. And that so far has passed the Senate Judiciary Committee unanimously, 5-0. So that's good news. And I will leave it at that, just because the rest of the bills we have already discussed. Thank you, that's all I have.
Great, thank you. I just have a couple of things. I attended many of the same events as my colleagues. The legislative breakfast at the Capitol was a lovely time. And so I just love that they host that. We had probably the greatest attendance we've had as a North Glen Council, so that was really nice to see. The awards banquet for our police department was beautiful, and it is always important to celebrate and honor the work that they do, and the stories they're heart-wrenching, and our staff work very, very hard to support the city, so it's a lovely event. I want to say I'm sorry for your loss, Jay. Thank you for sharing that, but I know that was really hard, so I'm sorry. And then thanks to Nick for doing the thing at the Capitol. Good job. Go do it. It's going to be great. And I do support your comments in elevating that we need to celebrate former Councilmember Wittevich. And so I'm wondering if there's a way that the city could possibly reach out and maybe see if there's an avenue, even if it's online or whenever there's an opportunity, because her service to the city was important.
Yeah.
And I want to make sure that she is recognized for that. And then there's a couple of things kind of upcoming in the future. There's a few of us that will be attending the National League of Cities City Summit in Washington, D.C. at the end of March, so that's going to be great. And we've heard about it. We're going to have some youth commissioners with us. But also, I will be attending the City Summit of the Americas in Denver. It's being hosted by the City of Denver in April, so I'm looking forward to that as well. All right. City Clerk Small, do you have any announcements?
Thank you, Mayor. I have nothing tonight.
Okay. City Manager Geyer?
I do have a few things tonight, Mayor and Council. The first is we will be celebrating Employee Appreciation Day this Friday, March 3rd, but we're actually going to celebrate it on Wednesday with employees and provide a breakfast at each city facility. So I'd like to thank our city staff who are hardworking and very committed to advancing North Glen, and just really thank you and honor their service to the city. A few other updates for council this evening. Staff is getting caught up on graffiti removal given the warm days we've had. I know snow was in the forecast for Wednesday, so they'll continue to do as much as possible in getting caught up on graffiti removal. Amanda Peterson, our Director of Parks, Recreation, and Culture, did send out an email to council inviting you to participate in the engagement portion of the playbook, our long-range planning project for parks and trails in North Glen. So please, when you have an opportunity, reply to Amanda to get a meeting set up on that. On Friday at the Senior Center, they are going to be celebrating National Pig Day at noon. We're talking about the small mechanical pigs, not the real ones. We won't have any of those at the center. But they are going to be celebrating everything bacon. And if anybody would like to attend, please reach out to Kate at the Senior Center. And then a couple last pieces. These are important and timely. Electrical work has begun at the J.C. Ball Fields. As you know, that's a lighting rehab project, so it's exciting that's underway, as well as work at Wyco Park and Danahay Park tennis courts, pickleball courts that are being renovated into pickleball courts. And then the new playground equipment for Sensory Playground at E.B. Raines Memorial Park has arrived slightly ahead of schedule. So as long as weather holds out, construction is set to begin on Monday for that playground improvement adjacent. The playground and the immediate area adjacent to the playground will be fenced off throughout construction, so there will be a bit of an interruption in terms of access. But it should be ready to go by the summer season, and we're excited for those improvements. Thank you.
Corey, how are you?
I'm doing well this evening, but I don't have anything tonight.
Okay, excellent, thank you. Okay, moving to the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
All right, please open the vote.
The vote is open.
Please vote.
Councilmember Kondo, how do you vote?
Yes.
Thank you. I will close that vote, and the consent agenda passes unanimously.
Okay, we have one public hearing tonight, CB 2001. Joanna, will you read the title, please?
A bill for an ordinance adding a new section 7-1-15 to the North Glen Municipal Code, authorizing the creation of safety-sensitive zones in which traffic violators within the designated safety-sensitive zones are subject to increased monetary penalties for moving traffic violations.
I will now open the public hearing on CB 2001. Is there anyone who would like to speak either for or against CB 2001? Is there anyone on the phone who would like to speak about CB 2001? Okay, hearing none, I will close the public hearing. Moving into ordinances on second reading. The first one is CB 2001, Safety Sensitive Zones Ordinance. Is there a motion to approve on second reading?
Move for approval?
To
Second.
approve.
City Manager Guyer will provide a summary of this item.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. We are happy to be in front of you this evening at this stage in implementation of the Safety Sensitive Zone Program. So I have a short PowerPoint for you this evening. Tonight's PowerPoint goes into a little bit more detail than the last PowerPoint on first reading, and happy to answer any final questions before council votes on this item this evening. You heard the purpose of tonight's presentation. In terms of the safety-sensitive zone goals, those are outlined in front of you. Our desire is to enhance health, safety, and welfare of the community, given the numerous complaints that we continue to experience with residential speeding. And so this program is a unique program modeled after the program that the town of Parker has, thanks to Councilmember Nicholas Walker bringing this item forward to council, and we've customized it to meet the needs of North Glen. We're hoping that this program does deter traffic violations on our residential roadways, increase awareness of residential roadway speeding as a significant public safety issue. We will be, as part of this program, providing mandatory fines that are doubled within the zone, similar to a school zone area. And our goal is to target specific areas that have been of issue and concern based on the last several years, and I'll go into more detail about those locations in a few slides ahead. Tonight, you're acting on the ordinance itself, so there's a couple other steps that we'll talk through that are part of actual standing up and implementing this program, but tonight's action is on the ordinance itself. And then the zones will be designated by council at a future meeting. This slide is somewhat redundant in terms of the overall purpose based on the information that I just shared with council, but for the public's benefit, I want to highlight that one revision that we've made to the draft ordinance in front of you that shifted from the very original version that you saw is we changed large to concentrated in the ordinance language. And then again, there's consistency in terms of our focus on areas in and around parks and trails, where we see heavy pedestrian and bicyclist traffic, as well as crosswalks and proximity to school zones. And that's how we identified what areas to focus in on. So within the safety-sensitive zones, the fine structure, as I mentioned, is going to be doubled. This is for both speeding and moving violations. It's a mandatory fine structure, so it's not something that is subject to a plea bargain. And points may be reduced. That's one piece that would be at the discretion of the judge, prosecuting attorney. The civil penalty cannot exceed $499. If there's any questions about that piece, Corey can speak to why that is. But we do have in the red column at right what the safety-sensitive zone fines will be. So you can see at left the normal, regular fine structure, and then with the implementation of the zones, the fines would be doubled there based on the ticket violation in terms of miles per hour over the posted speed limit. In terms of our overall timeline, the next step in this process, if approved this evening, will be to bring forward the safety-sensitive zone map to council on March 13th for one final look before we bring those 4 zones to council on March 20th for adoption via resolution. So implementation of the program is done in the format of an ordinance, and then setting the zones is done via council resolution. We did make a commitment at the staff level in partnership with council to evaluate the program at the 1-year mark and consider new zones at that time. So we are recommending the establishment of 4 zones based on staff capacity, in particular that of the traffic unit, as well as capacity on the public works side. And so I'll dive into a little bit more of what we'll do ahead of launching the zones in June, but we have made that commitment to council. Oops. In terms of enforcement of the zones, and Chief Jim May is here with us this evening, and he can speak to any specific questions you have about enforcement, but it will be the responsibility of not only the police department traffic unit, but patrol officers in general. This program, is focused on enhancing enforcement within specific areas that we'll talk about. The one new piece of information, as a result of a request from Councilmember Walker, you asked about data and how that would be shared. I've asked Chief May to work with his staff to come up with a templated report that can be provided to council at the end of every month or beginning of the month for the month past. And so they're working on developing that, and once we have a mock-up put together, we'd be happy to share that with council. So that way it's consistent, and we can also put that information on our city website, and we're very transparent about it.
Thank you.
In terms of the signage, we show here on this slide the type of signage that you're going to see when you're approaching the safety-sensitive zone. You see that in the yellow sign there, and then when you're approaching the end of a safety-sensitive zone. You also see the signage that we're required to have in order to designate that the fines will be doubled. The one piece, Kent Kisselman, if you can come forward and talk about the change. We do have a change in terms of the flashing sign, so I'd like Kent to explain what we're doing there.
Good evening, thanks for having us. So when we went to place the order for the signs, we discovered that they do only read halfway. And so there will be 2 signs now in each zone, and there'll be 1 facing in each direction. And then they'll collect the data and the volume. The price still remains the same. They're like $4,500 a piece, so the number that we presented of 10,000 for each zone is still a solid number. So that's just the only change. So you'll be seeing a flashing stop sign or a flashing sign in each direction of travel.
That's awesome. Thank you, Ken.
Thanks, Kent. In terms of the recommended zones, for Ward 1, we're recommending Fox Run Parkway, and council consensus was received on this location. For Ward 2, this is the one area where staff previously recommended a location on Larson and 112th, and based on council direction, we met with council members Jaramillo and Brown and identified Irma Drive south of Fowler Drive to 115th as the recommended location. For Ward 3, we're recommending Community Center Drive, and council consensus was received for that location. And then for Ward 4, we're recommending Melody Drive, and council member Shannon Lukeman Haramasa had requested speed data at the February 13th meeting, and Kent is working with staff on getting that speed data pulled together, and we'll provide that to both you and Councilmember Long once we have that. In terms of the community outreach plan, there's no additional changes since our last conversation to the plan. We do plan to mail postcards within each ward, notifying residents in advance of the launch of the program. In terms of each ward, will be we identified 1 zone in each ward, and again, that's based on the staff capacity on the traffic unit and on the public works side of things. One of the things that's important for the public to understand is we're not approaching this program as more zones equate greater effectiveness of the program. So what we want to do is make sure that we create a baseline with data at the front end of the program before we launch it, in terms of the use of our speed radar technology, and then measure it 6 months in and then a year in. And that data will be shared with City Council as we make that progress in monitoring the program. In terms of program measurement of success, I've talked already about program measurement on an annual basis. We'll use the average speed data before and after the zone is implemented. And again, that's important so that way we can establish that baseline. We will be flexible and make sure that we do those measurements when best appropriate in terms of capturing time of day. And if for some reason we have inclement weather, given the shifting of weather patterns, we'll make sure that we've got good solid days that provide data for us. We hope that we see a shift in resident perception, that the city is making strides in reducing residential roadway speeding. And I hope that you all hear that at the council level through a reduction in the number of complaints that come direct to you, as well as myself and then staff. We hope to see this also through the increased visibility of patrol officers or traffic officers in our residential areas. And again, can't stress enough that it's not only speeding violations, it's also moving violations. So I know you often hear concerns from residents about stop sign violations. And so that's an example of a moving violation that will be part of this program. In terms of the program budget, Kent just referred to the cost per sign being $10,000, so it's actually, he mentioned the updated amount, and there'll be 2 in each zone, so that amount will be doubled, but that's all within the 2023 city budget, so we're not asking council for an additional budget appropriation. We've got very talented staff in-house and the ability to do signage in-house, so those signs will be done in-house, the outreach materials as well. There will be a cost for mailing postcards, but Diana Wilson, our communications director, has assured me that those costs can be absorbed within our existing communications budget. And then the enforcement activities of the traffic unit and patrol officers in general will be part of day-to-day functions. So with that, happy to answer any questions. Overall, staff is recommending approval of CB 2001 on second reading.
Councilmember Jaramillo.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. No question, but I want to just say thank you, Heather and staff, for working with Councilmember Brown and I to help really tailor the safety-sensitive zones to an area that's going to be better utilized, for lack of a better term. So thank you for that, and
You're welcome.
and I think that, we're on the right track, and hopefully the speeding will go down and be, safer for everybody who utilizes our streets. Thank you.
Councilmember Long.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have a question and then clarification. First, the statement to be made is that my constituents sincerely appreciate this. I have been around and talking to many, many folks, and this is the top thing that everybody's really concerned about. So thank you for doing all that you've done to take the lead on this and make this come about. My question is a curiosity, and excuse me ahead of time, because being the newbie on the board here, but I didn't see why we have a total civil penalty cannot exceed $499.
The reason for that is it keeps it decriminalized. So it means that someone does not have a right to a jury trial on a traffic offense such as this.
And that's by ordinance?
Correct. And under state law, keeping the penalty at that rate makes it so that you're not entitled to a jury trial.
Okay, so this is a statutory thing that we reflect in our ordinances. Is that what you're saying?
In effect, yes, there are certain triggers that would require if someone could lose their liberty, go to jail, that would trigger a jury trial. And so this keeps it below that threshold and below a financial threshold that would not trigger a jury trial.
Thank you.
Councilmember Walker.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm going to be a little bit of an echo to Councilmember Jaramillo, but I just wanted to say thank you to Heather, thank you to staff, chief, and even our in-council, Mr. Hoffman, for your support on this, and my fellow council members too. I truly look forward to seeing this in action, so thank you to everybody.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Please open the vote.
Vote is open.
Please vote.
Councilmember Kondo, how do you vote?
Yes.
Thank you. I will close that vote, and CB 2001 on second reading passes unanimously.
Moving to ordinances on first reading, CB 2002. Joanna, will you read the title, please?
A bill for a special ordinance amending the 2022 budget, recognizing revenues and appropriating expenditures by supplemental appropriation for the payment of the costs and expenses of the municipal government, agencies, and offices of the City of North Glen, Colorado for the fiscal year beginning January 1, 2022.
Move for approval.
Second.
All right, Jason Loveland, our Director of Finance, is here to provide a summary. Hi, Jason.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So this supplemental is going to go back to 2022's budget. The reason for the need for the supplemental, as you can see in the memo, the cost for fuel, motor vehicle fuel, was significantly higher in 2022 than we had projected throughout the budget. Specifically in the sanitation fund, it actually drove the fund from overspending its entire appropriation of $2,440,658. In that case, we need to do a supplemental appropriation to officially allocate dollars through the budget process to cover that expense. And so bringing forward a $55,000 supplemental budget appropriation specific to the sanitation fund to cover that overage caused by the fuel prices. And as you can see, the entire city budget across all funds had budget overruns of about 62% due to the higher prices that none of us expected in 2022. And then just within that fund, 76% of an overrun with the diesel fuel inflation actually being higher. So staff recommends approval of the supplemental appropriation, and we'll come back for a public hearing on March 13th if approved tonight.
Councilmember Brown?
Jason, my memory. When we did the budget process last year for this year's budget, I think that we were already starting to experience the gas prices going up. Do we budget correctly for this year?
Great question. So for the 2023 budget, we actually had budget about 22% higher than the 2022 budget for 2023. It's about 22% higher across the board. If they stay how they are at plus 60%, we'll probably fall short in that line item again, but we'll keep track of that as things change throughout the year. We knew it was going to be close throughout the year, and then we didn't really hit the overage until we did year-end accruals, and that's where we...
Sorry.
Yeah, you're fine.
Well, we definitely couldn't control that. That was totally out of our wheelhouse.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, I don't see any more hands. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Please open the vote.
The vote is open.
Please vote.
Councilmember Kondo, how do you vote?
Yes.
Thank you. I will close that vote, and CB 2002 on first reading passes unanimously.
Great, moving into resolutions. The first one, CR 33. Joanna, will you read the title, please?
A resolution for the election of the mayor pro tempore of the city of North Glen, Colorado.
Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Motion second.
I think we need to make a motion with a name in it.
Oh, darn it.
I would like to motion that we consider Councilmember Lukman Haramasa for Mayor Pro Tem.
Second.
Okay, that item is up for discussion. Does anyone want to add? So to clarify, Councilmember Lukman Haramasa, are you up for it?
Yes, Madam Mayor.
Yeah, yeah.
First of all, I would just like to thank you, Madam Mayor and fellow council members, for considering this. It would be an absolute honor for me to serve in the role of Mayor Pro Tem. I understand the weight of this role to include supporting the mayor as needed, being a professional and a positive voice for our city at local, regional, state, and even national events, such as community events and meetings, meeting with commissioners, other city council members, legislators, and attending and representing the city at events such as CML, and at the national level, like NLC. I believe that actions speak louder than words, and I have proven myself to be professional and present during our council meetings and at events outside of council. And I wrote a bunch of stuff, but I would just like to say that from the heart, I would absolutely love to fulfill this role. I am here for the city, I'm here for my fellow council members, and I believe that that is the most important part of holding this role. And I have tried my best to learn and absorb information, and I've had the best role models in doing so here on my time on council, including one that's sitting here in the audience, one of the OGs, as I like to call her. former mayor and council member Joyce Downing. So with gratitude, I would love to graciously accept this role if you all will have.
Councilmember Kondo, I see your hand.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would like to voice my support for Councilmember Lukman Hiramasa. And my reasons are several. First of all, as a fairly junior and new individual, learning the city. And of course, you've all heard about my exploits to go and ride along with the police, tour the schools and things of that nature. I have asked Councilmember Lukman Hiramasa to join me in that. And without fail, she has been on many of the tours. And I think that traveling and walking that journey together, I've come to know her very well. I believe she is very qualified in terms of temperament and skill set to be able to perform the duties of Mayor Pro Tem without question.
Great, thank you for your comment. I don't see any more hands. Oh, Councilmember Goff.
Excuse me, I'll just say something that I think there's more than one person on city council, in this council that would be, do a good job as Mayor Pro Tem. But I think that with Shannon Lukman Hiramasa, there's a potential for more continuity. I know that in November we'll, go through this similar process again, but I do feel like she has a good chance of continuing in her role if that's what she chooses. And that counts a lot for me since we've had so much unexpected changes.
Great. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. Councilmember Kondo, how do you vote?
Yes.
Thank you.
Mine's not open.
Mine's not open either, Joanna.
Says no vote.
Oh, reload.
Did that work for you, Mayor?
Did that work?
It did, yeah. We'll
Mine's not.
refresh.
Oh,
There we go.
Voila.
I'm fine.
Okay, I will close that vote, and CR 33 passes unanimously.
Great, moving into oh, congratulations. Sorry, skipping right on. Resolution CR 35. Joanna, will you read the title, please?
A resolution approving an intergovernmental agreement between the City of North Glen and the Regional Transportation District regarding operation and maintenance of the North Metro commuter rail line.
move for approval?
Second.
Got to get the ball rolling. All right, our Director of Planning and Development, Brooke, is here. Hello.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Hi, Brooke.
Hi. Do want to say this is somewhat of a momentous occasion in closing a very long tome of a project. And I do want to start out by recognizing Pam Aker, who actually started this journey on the original EIS long before I started with the City of North Glen on the N line. And so she's been integral in helping putting this together, because primarily most of the area that's involved in this particular maintenance and operations agreement is really tied to stormwater maintenance. So I want to give her a shout out and recognition, because she's been at the very beginning, and this is the very end of a long, long book of the N line. So with that being said, this intergovernmental agreement contemplates shared and identified maintenance responsibilities along their corridor, their right-of-way corridor within the City of North Glen. I would point out that as I said earlier, the stormwater areas, which is basically the Grange Hall Creek and whatnot, are areas that we were already maintaining under our responsibilities as the local jurisdiction. This is just helping define that. In addition, we're also defining what the station maintenance is. As you know, we have a license agreement through Separate, which is referenced in the IGA for the ART, but the remaining balance of the area is primarily theirs. Also, we have trails that cross the right-of-way, and so we're just identifying that. So really, the other aspect to this is that normally you have this before the line opens. And for several circumstances that didn't happen, but effectively, we've already been taking on these responsibilities throughout the last couple of years, just through mutual understanding and agreement. So really, we're here tonight just to memorialize and put a bow on what we've already essentially agreed to do. And I also want to recognize all the public works staff that helped coordination and signing and checking the boxes as to what. So with that, we're recommending approval. Happy to answer any questions.
Councilmember Jaramillo.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So I saw in here about maintenance, and you mentioned the art at the end line. Some concerns that I have is the magnesium chloride on the steel sculptures that we have there. How often can we expect it to be power washed to remove the magnesium chloride in any of?
I can find out the answer to that, but that's covered under the other license agreement that we have. It's not actually, it's referenced in this document, but it's not part of the agreement.
So it'll be RTD doing the, or will it be the
Off the
CMR?
top of my head, we have an agreement with RTD to do the cleaning in and surrounding the area. Our job is to maintain the actual art features themselves, and also we've worked with them on the landscaping materials that are in that area as well. So that's the depth of my knowledge based on that, but I can get back to you with an answer.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone? No? Okay. Oh, Councilmember Long.
My curiosity takes us into the future with the potential of Section 36.
Yes.
And that rail line does run there with a terminus, as I'm told, possibly into the future. Would this then require supplemental to this, or is this part of this? Would this be naturally assumed?
It would be, it'd be an amendment to this agreement because what we would need to do is identify within that area what areas of shared responsibility there would be, and also each party's individual responsibility. I can tell you anecdotally that that's probably beyond my career lifetime when that might actually happen, but you know, stranger things have happened.
I
So
think that's a very logical anecdotal statement. Thank you.
you're welcome.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Please open the vote.
The vote is open. Councilmember Kondo, how do you vote?
Yes.
Thank you. I will close that vote, and CR 35 passes unanimously.
Okay. CR 36. Joanna, will you read the title, please?
A resolution appointing a Ward 2 member to the Diversity, Inclusivity, and Social Equity Board of the City of North Glen, Colorado.
Move for approval?
Second.
All right, Tamara Dixon, our Director of Human Resources and Chief Diversity Officer, will provide a summary of this item.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Hi.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good
I
call.
have this
Wake us up.
habit that when I say good morning or say something and I don't hear much, I say it again. So very happy to be here this evening to welcome, really, to the DICE board, Christina Smito from Ward 2 and Ms. Catherine Schilling as our at-large member. If I can, I'd like to call up Christina.
Yes, please.
I want to keep it really brief for you guys. I'm really honored to be serving on this board. When I did my interview, I kind of mentioned a few things to those who were on that interview with me. I have a story. I have quite the story to tell. And someday, hopefully, you all will know pieces of this story and pieces of this puzzle of who I am as a person, and as a collective, as a family even. My journey has taken me through walks of equality, discrimination, homelessness, poverty. I lived out of my car for a while at one point. So I've been through it every step of the way, and I look at life a little bit differently from those collected experiences that I have. So I feel that the experience I have would be really awesome to bring to this and bring to this city. And eventually, I would like to make the transition like you did, for Ward 2. It's neat seeing you guys, because this is where I want to be and what I want to do in the future. And this is the first step into this world and being a part of this city to get to where I want to be. So, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, Councilmember Brown?
Thank you very much for applying for it and getting it accepted for it. I'm actually in Ward 2 also, so I really do appreciate you stepping forward. We did have a little bit of a slowdown in trying to fill the roles, but I'm very pleased that you've decided to join. You could actually run for this seat in November. Swing by the house, we'll talk about it, and we'll get you going. Okay.
I'll discuss at the wife first.
You do that first. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Jaramillo?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just want to say, appreciate you stepping up and representing Ward 2, and excited to see you becoming more involved, and looking forward to seeing everything happen from here on out. So, thank you.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
And Christina, I will just say welcome, and I was very inspired by your interview, and I think you're going to do great things.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Okay, please open the vote.
The vote is open.
Please vote.
Councilmember Kondo, how do you vote?
Yes.
Thank you. I will close that vote, and CR 36 passes unanimously.
Yay, congrats. All right, CR 37 is very similar. Joanna, will you read the title, please?
A resolution appointing an at-large member to the Diversity, Inclusivity, and Social Equity Board of the City of North Glen, Colorado.
I think one thing that really impressed me the night.
We have to move.
Oh, I'm
Hold on.
so sorry.
We just have to make the motion.
Move for approval?
Second.
Now, Tamara.
I'm sorry.
That's
One
okay.
thing that impressed me the night we sat on the interviews was the passion that not only Christina showed, but also Catherine.
Yeah.
And to Councilwoman Brown's point, we were very fortunate to find both of them and be able to interview and have them here tonight. So with that, I invite up Catherine.
Madam Mayor and City Council, thank you for this opportunity to serve on the DICE Board. As I said in my interview, I had done some research on DICE boards across the country. And the City of North Glen's DICE Board has a much broader and deeper understanding of diversity and inclusivity, has already accomplished far more in the short time it has been around, and has provided a greater variety and scope of activities for the community than many other DICE boards, including ones for cities that are much larger. And so I was really impressed by that. I think it's something that this community and the city council can be really proud of. And I am thrilled to be a part of it and hope I can contribute in my own ways. Many of the ideas I have involve really widening the scope and involving the community more and in every activity, so that it doesn't become a board that does things, but I want it to be from the ground up and the community to be really involved in these activities. So I thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Any questions for Kath? No. Okay, well, I will just say, I was also very privileged to be a part of your interview, and the amount of research and thoroughness that you prepared, it was lovely to meet you, so I can't wait to see how both of you come together and grow this board.
No, thank you.
Thank you so much. Oh, Councilmember Goff.
I just wanted to say thank you to both of you. Look forward to seeing you both tomorrow night.
Oh, right away. Awesome. Please open the vote.
Vote is open.
Please vote.
Councilmember Kondo, how do you vote?
Yes.
Thank you. I will close that vote, and CR 37 passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Yeah. Hey, do you want it up? Oh, actually. Congratulations, thank you.
That's a good way to.
Okay, we have 4 discussion items tonight. The very first one, stadium tax funding for youth activity programs. Amanda Peterson, our Director of Parks, Recreation, and Culture, is here. Hi, Amanda.
Hi, good evening, Mayor and Council. So it is, let me turn this on, I always forget that part. There we go. It is not all that often that we get unexpected money just mailed to us, right? So we're here tonight to reach hopefully a consensus as to how to expend those dollars that we received from the Broncos franchise sale. the Metropolitan Football Stadium tax was in place. We haven't actually collected that tax in quite a few years. That ended in the collection ended in 2011. It was a 0.1% sales tax that was collected in, I believe, 7 counties that make up the Metropolitan Stadium District. So those counties funded 75% of the construction of the Broncos Stadium when it was built. And that debt service was paid off on time, and that tax came to an end in 11. As a result of that original agreement and that original tax that was put in place, when the franchise sold, there was a sharing amount to each of those 7 counties and all of the municipalities within them. So each county or municipality received a proportional amount of the proceeds as to what was put in. There was a formula that was in place to identify that. Our share was just under $400,000. We did receive that check this past fall, so it's not reimbursement dollars. Once we do a project, they've given us the check. We have that in hand already. The funding requirements that we were given with those are very, very broad. It is for youth activity programs. We have initial reporting that's due in September of this year, and there's no firm date that says when 100% of those funds need to be expended by, just that they were excited to hear what things are happening for youth in the community as a result of that infusion of funds. So staff have kind of identified 3 primary buckets that we felt like would be appropriate expenditures of those dollars. We did this after staff have spoken with those from other municipalities. A group from the Colorado Parks and Recreation Association gathered this past fall just to better understand and try to better understand what the possible expenditures could be, how others were planning on utilizing those funds. I would say the vast majority were talking about either option 1, and that tended to be the larger organizations that have received enough funds, so if they were going to do scholarships or offset fees, they could do that for a really extended period of time. Or option 3 in the capital improvement bucket, because that allows for those funds to potentially fully fund a project without an ongoing expense associated with it. So just to kind of go over the 3, option 1 is kind of that offset of fees. So the fees that people are paying to participate in a youth program, either in the form of scholarships or a reduction in fees overall, could be one possibility. Option 2, we could add to our programming. We could do new or different programming, enhanced programming for youth participants. And then option 3 would be capital improvements, and that could be either funding an underfunded project or development of a brand new project that could be funded in full with these dollars. Some of the considerations that we assessed were what's the long-term outcome? Are we able to fund something for a year, for 5 years, into perpetuity? What does that look like in terms of sustainability, the staff resources? Are we able to, $400,000 is a lot of money, but not necessarily enough to hire a staff to implement a program, right? And then the last piece of that was budget tracking. What does that look like for a capital improvement compared to what does that look like if we are divvying out funds in smaller amounts on an operational basis? So we took all of this to the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board on February 9th, which was their most recent meeting, and they had a very robust discussion about how they would like to see those dollars spent. So what you're going to see in the next slides are their recommendations as to how they felt like it would be appropriate for those dollars to be expended in a way that would reach as many youth as possible in our community. I guess I'll preface that with, they did feel strongly about something in every one of those 3 options and wanted those funds distributed amongst them. So option 1 with offset fees, for this option, they would like to see $30,000 dedicated to the Northglenn Arts and Humanities Foundation to reach youth who may not be into active recreation or looking for those alternative recreation opportunities, to provide scholarships for youth who may not be able to pay to participate in our theater programming, as well as to potentially enhance that programming. So that was their first recommendation that they brought forward. The second recommendation they asked for was to dedicate $30,000 to enhancing existing programming or adding new one-time events for youth and teens. And some of the examples that they provided for that were things like if a bounce house had been eliminated from a special event, they wanted to be able to add those back in and fund them on a one-time basis. If there's something new as a part of a special event that the special events team would like to be able to add or try out to attract youth and teens, they wanted to be able to have the flexibility to use dollars for that type of a program. They also wanted those to be available to expand, say, a youth and teen night, trying something out that maybe wasn't in the budget, wasn't established yet, but allows for that pilot program to occur. And so they really envision this being spent in kind of that $5,000 chunks so that it can impact a wide variety of programming and give an idea as to what might be successful in the long term. And then the third recommendation is the capital improvements option. We have two possibilities here, or two, which really we can do both of them. One would be to identify a brand new, and I'll show you a picture because I see the puzzled look. Maybe it's not a puzzled look.
No, it's not.
Okay.
Well, kind of, but we'll get to that at the end.
So one would be to identify a brand new capital improvement project. And one of the things we were looking at is how can we leverage these funds? And with capital improvements, we have a lot more opportunity to leverage funds than we do with the operating dollars. So that would allow us to expand the dollars from the $400,000 that we received to potentially up to $600,000 or $700,000. Utilizing specifically Adams County Open Space grant funds, which we're right in the midst of that spring grant cycle now. Grant applications are due here shortly. So one of the concepts, and I will credit staff with this, is being able to activate the lap pool in another way, be able to expand our audience, and again, reaching those youth and teens, those older kids that might be outgrowing the spaces that we have and looking for that next big challenge. How do we give them something that's really at their level? So I'll show you an image of that shortly, but we've identified $200,000 in that category. That, if we were able to use that to leverage funds, has a price tag of between $400,000 and $500,000. We believe that we could get that remaining funding through grant resources. And then the last item would be to allocate the remaining funding to the Odell Berry Park project. It's not enough fund, as some of you may be aware, we haven't talked about that in a little while. It's about a $5 million project. We've secured $1.5 million thus far, so we still have a really significant gap. And so $135,000 isn't enough to close that gap, but it is an alternate funding source, whereas we continue to go through a process of seeking grant funds, shows some diversity in funding instead of just a single grant source that we have currently. As I hinted at, this is a photo of that aquatics course that I had put up on the screen earlier. I forget what this location is. It is an outdoor location. And then the next one is an indoor location. And those are retractable, so it doesn't change the function of a lap pool for its originally intended purpose. It retracts fully to the ceiling or to the trusses, and then can be electronically or motorized and brought down to the pool level for activity time. So with that, I'd love to open it up for conversation about Parks and Recreation Advisory Board recommendations, as well as any additional thoughts any of you may have as to how we might be able to spend those dollars to benefit youth in our community.
Okay, Councilmember Kondo.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I was just going to make a comment about the kind of the jungle gym concept. I've actually seen it. It's at the Windcrest Rec Center in Thornton. And if you're a fan of American Ninja Warriors, where they have the Sasuke style, where you're kind of going from one end to the pool or another, it seems to be quite attractive for clients who are in their teens. And so I'm really excited to see this concept being proposed.
Thank you. Councilmember Goff?
Okay. Amanda, this is all pretty exciting. I have a couple of questions. One is this lap pool, I would imagine would result in more people coming to use the pool. And what I have seen is, it seems like we're short on lifeguards. So how is this going to work?
Staff have definitely had that conversation and are in that constant space of increasing our guards, making sure that we have people well-trained. We, as you know, worked with the state last year on some additional funding to help incentivize. We have not heard, I say we haven't heard, I haven't caught up with Justin yet, he's sitting here behind me. I know he participated in some conversations with CPRA and the state recently to identify if they're going to be able to bring those dollars back. We know that's a challenge for us and be something we continue to work on.
Okay, and then the other, I guess that's a comment I would like to make, is I think the Odell Berry Park needs all the funding it can get, and the sooner we get that built, the better. And once we have it built, that's free for any resident, so, including our youth. So I'll just put a pitch in for that.
Councilmember Lukman Haramasa.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Option 1 and 2 are very nice, but I am definitely leaning towards option 3 overall, just because I like a concrete, kind of a tangible result in the use of the monies. And if you're able to leverage funding too, I think that would be way more useful. Plus, looking at that aquatic park, so fun fact about me, I love Tough Mudder races and Spartan races, and the first thing I thought is that looks like a Spartan race. So can adults use it too? Just kidding.
Yes.
Kidding. Oh, yeah.
It is rated for adults as well as youth and teens.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a gap when it comes to our older youth. So having something like this maybe addresses that gap, because we have a lot of things for the young kids, and teens, as we know, are harder to get involved, cool. It has to be cool, it has to be worth it. So I think this would be excellent. Plus, allocating the remaining funding to Odell Berry Park is definitely something I would support, since we know we need all the funding we can get to finish the project, or to start.
Or to start, yes. And
So-
just to clarify, with the dollar amounts that were in there, and you can certainly make suggestions or recommendations to allocate all dollars within just one of those pots or across the 3 options. The dollar amounts that we included in the presentation do allow you to fund all 4 of those options. So the 30,000 to the NIHF, 30,000 for special events and programming enhancements, the 200 for the course, and then the remaining 100, and I'm not gonna remember that amount off the top of my head.
134.
Thank you, 134,396 to Odell Berry Park.
Oh, excellent. And why the number 30,000? I was just curious.
The Parks and Recreation Advisory Board identified those
Okay.
numbers and felt like those were sufficient enough to be able to have a reasonable start. We did vet those numbers with the Arts and Humanities Fund. Well, let me rephrase. We did have the opportunity to go to the board, vetted them with Michael, in terms of if that was enough, if that was a substantial enough amount for them to be able to kind of really start up a healthy scholarship fund.
Thank you.
Yes.
Councilmember Jaramillo.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I love that you'll be including 30,000 for North Bend Arts Humanities Foundation, especially if we can offset some of those fees you mentioned, or reduced rate fees for, future actors and actresses. If that's part of it, I think that's great. That could help jumpstart somebody's, their career starting here. And that's just right off the bat, just reading them down the line. I think, I really think that's cool. The adventure course, the aquatic adventure course. I've seen it done in other municipalities, and I think it would really help engage, as I mentioned, the youth. Let's say that, after they conquered the water slide, it's like, what's next? So, I mean, I wish they had this when I was a kid, but, I guess it gives me something to train for.
There's still opportunity.
Right. So as you mentioned, Councilmember Lukman Haramasa, with all of the different, as you mentioned, Spartan and there's different ones all over, Ninja Warrior. Even parkour is cool with kids and even people my age. So I think we could really, have that like a little block, like, okay, this is when it's happening, and I think it'd be successful and really engage the space, because I've just noticed there's been a little lack in the lap pool, but that means I need to go there too myself. So, I'd definitely be in support of this, the aquatic adventure course.
Councilmember Brown?
I actually wanted to speak to the expanding of the services, at that lap pool. I've been spending, gonna admit it, I've been spending a lot of time at the Thornton Rec because there's more for my older grandson to do. There's more for the girls to do in that specific, rec center. And there are a lot of North Glen residents that are visiting Trailways rather than coming to ours because, the depth of our pool is pretty low. Thornton, of course, is a bigger city and it's a fabulous facility over there. So I've gotten to know quite a few of our residents that are over there, and I think that if we could do something to bring them back over here, because this is where I would rather put my money, with the grandkids and stuff. So I think that's a really great idea. The first thing that came to my mind was the scholarships. I think they're very important, especially after Chris was just here, 2 weeks ago, and we found out that a lot of our schools, most of our schools, have a large amount of low-income children who are qualifying for free lunches and things like that. So I think that's a great idea. As far as the, I just want to throw this out, the remaining of the funding to the Odell Berry Park. I question if with a, what is that, like a $3.5 million shortfall right now? And it's been there, we got that 1.5 million 2-3 years ago, I think, 2.
We got it several years ago.
Yeah.
We do have a grant currently on that project. It's a small grant, so it's
Right.
$30,000, but it's a technical assistance grant. Once we
Right.
complete that, that will allow us to be eligible to apply for a construction grant with that same organization. It's Colorado Health Foundation. So we do have a couple of in the works, but we have to finish out this technical assistance piece so that we have all of that input before we make our next application.
I personally would like to see with the 134, 396 that, I'm all for the funding of the Odell Berry Park, and let's get that up, let's get that going. But I think we could make an immediate impact on our youth by taking the 134, 396 and spending it now rather than waiting till when we could spend it on something down the future, down later in the future. I think our youth deserves the nows, because we're coming into summertime eventually, please. And things like that. So that's my opinion on the Odell Berry Park. I think it's a great project, but 134 doesn't, put a drop in the bucket. It's nice, but I think that we should be spending that money on our youth now because we will eventually, and we know this, we persevered before, we will have the funding for Odell Berry's Park. Once we get moving again and get additional grants in and stuff like that. I think that this was given to us, for lack of a better way of saying it, by the Broncos, not to hold on to into a future. You know what I mean? That could be 3-4 years out when we could make an immediate impact on somebody who can't go to summer camp this year or somebody that can't, anything like that for the kids now. That is my own personal opinion, but that's how I feel about it. I think all the options are great, but my preference is for, allocating more funding to the pool, the rec center, the programs that either are existing or creating of new ones, and then, of course, grants, scholarships. Don't ask me how that all looks like, but I want to come back over here because it's closer to my home. I like it. But we need to bring more to our pool area that attracts more residents and more teens.
Councilmember Long?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm reading into this. I would think that Parks and Rec had a lot of trade-offs and a lot of back and forth negotiations. I'm just reading into it as to what took place, and I really applaud what they did. I'm always looking for trade-offs and back and forth, and I want to say that whether it's indoor or outdoor and the 3 options, I think they did a very fantastic job just talking amongst themselves and looking for fairness to split it up into the 3 options. So whether it's indoor or outdoor for that aquatic adventure course, that'd be up to them. But I think that what you've accomplished here with this windfall is really fantastic. So thank you for the efforts and everything that everybody went into it. I support this project, the way it's shown. Thank you.
Thank you.
Really quickly, so I was taking notes. I want to clarify because in response to Councilmember Lukman Hiramasa, the sort of adventure style of this aquatic park, that is also the vision for the Odell Berry Park, is like a 12 and up park.
So for an element within the park, yes,
Yes.
you are correct.
So that's an option for the outside as well, and that I really think that's exciting. The very first thing I'm with Councilmember Goff was hours and access. So when I look at the aquatic element, I'm like, yeah, that looks great, but it won't be available all the time. It's not, it won't be open all the time. It's not accessible to our residents 24/7. Not that we want, the park at night, but I think that's the difference for me. My heart went to the scholarships first, and so I have a question about, is that a $30,000 for 1 year? Is it $30,000 ongoing? Is it open to every youth program?
So the way that the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board identified it or envisioned it was specific to arts and humanities, so theater and cultural programs. It would be one-time dollars that would allow them to leverage that in their fundraising efforts so that they'd have an established scholarship fund. So it would not all be distributed in the first year it was available.
Okay, so the funding requirements, when they say youth activity programs, there was none considered for sports, athletics?
So from a scholarship standpoint, there was not, because the other items, they felt like it addressed some of those needs. It wasn't scholarship specifically, but we do have a scholarship program that allows for a 50% discount up to $250. If there's a desire on your part to add scholarship dollars, we're certainly open to that conversation. We don't have an organization in quite the same way as we do with the Arts and Humanities Foundation that's has the infrastructure in place, ready to disperse those funds. So that adds a little bit of a challenge to it, but if there's a dollar amount you'd like to identify for scholarships, we can figure out how to do that.
Okay, I was just looking at, I think it's slide, whatever page 8 is on mine. And it just talks about offsetting fees, reduce or eliminating fees for youth activities. And I thought that meant athletics as well. And so when I think about any sports registration, does that include any summer activities? Like, I think, and piggybacking on Councilmember Brown's comments, we did just hear about the state of our youth and the financial struggles that families are having. And so option 1 to me is more important than option 2. And so I don't know if anyone would be willing to take the option 2 funding and slide it over. I think that's something really important, and I don't know how fast $30,000 goes if that's something, you said it was one-time money, but can they spread it out multi-year?
So the Arts and Humanities Foundation, if we provide them that funding, so in the amount, let's say the $30,000 specific to arts and theater and culture programming, they would accept that. We would report out that we've expended the $30,000 and how we've expended it. Then it would be on the board to then either report out to you or have that responsibility to expend that $30,000 over some period of time.
Okay.
If you, and just to clarify, these 3 options, these are what we gave the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board as all the possibilities. So the recommendations that you saw on the later slides narrowed that down, or in their conversation at least, and it's not tied to that, but in their conversation, in option 1, offset fees, they specifically narrowed in on arts and humanities funding.
Okay. I mean, I think even though it looks really fun and flashy, I think as far as access goes and getting the most out of our money, I feel like it makes more sense to put the money towards the park. I think the other thing to notice is that the aquatic thing still requires grant funding in order to get there. So
it does. I will, just to share with you, our success with Adams County Open Space grants is pretty high. And we don't want to bank on that, right? But we have had one application that I can think of in recent years being the last 12 or so, that was not funded on first ask, was funded on second ask. We have had several that were funded in part and not in whole. We're pretty cautious in what we submit to them to ensure that it meets funding requirements fully, so that we aren't submitting them things that we don't believe will get funded. But you're right, it absolutely is counting on grant funding to make it happen.
I just think our residents would benefit more from a public park. And so I would love to see us find the funding that finished in its entirety, because it has a lot of those elements as far as multi-age access. And so that would be my preference. Councilmember Goff.
Okay, a question I had is, am I correct in understanding that the more we put in money towards Odell Berry Park, the more likely other people might be matching it? I mean, isn't that kind of how it works? So that's another reason, I think, to do it. And I would kind of like leave it to other people on the aquatic park, but I'm kind of being convinced by the mayor here on in terms of how much bang for our buck we would get. I was also wondering if it's like we're competition with Thornton, that, you know, maybe both places have less people participating because both places have for similar. So, I mean, I think I would consider shifting some of the money around. And I think that the argument for giving funds, scholarships, things to youth is really a persuasive one, and people will feel that impact immediately. And then again, the park is free, and we'll have, you know, the teen or, you know, youth facilities or whatever involved in that. And I think that's how I would like to maybe shift money around.
Councilmember Walker, did you want to weigh in at all?
No, I'm still kind of weighing the options. I think it's kind of neat that the sale of the Broncos will go to fund a former, or to fund a park named for former Broncos user.
Yeah.
No, that is. Councilmember Luqman Hiramasa.
Thank you, Mayor. I like the idea of maybe moving option 2 to option 1. My understanding was that Odell Berry Park would be like a ropes course. Kind of different versus the aquatic course, but is it the same? Like more of a parkour? I thought it was okay.
Like that teen adventure course kind of concept, so.
So
some
not like a
parkour
ropes
elements,
course.
but ground level elements.
Okay, ground level element. So there is a difference. I mean, for example, if they went with something like an interior aquatic park, you know, then that gives winter options for kids versus winter options in the park. Maybe they won't use it as much. But moving some of the funding around does make sense to allocate more towards scholarships. But I still love the idea of having some kind of aquatic course. Again, just listening to our youth commission and the teens and the need for more activities for the teens year-round. It's just something to consider, but love everybody else. Okay.
What are the current hours of pool?
I'm going to ask Justin to answer that question for me.
5 a.m. to 8 p.m.
Okay.
But that's not all both pools, all that time.
Correct. I think one of the intents, if we were to move forward with this adventure course, is to activate that lap pool space that by and large sits empty a large portion of the time. We feel that the challenges in acquiring and hiring more lifeguards is doable, given that we could kind of reallocate the number of guards in a given area, potentially close off certain amenities in the activity pool, rearrange some of that schedule where we could make this happen. There's a lot of opportunities in the way it happens. I think one of you alluded to potentially a friendly competition with Thornton, right? And we could run different leagues or one-day events, ongoing days, a number of days per week, where that adventure course could be an option indoors, and so available throughout the entire year.
Councilmember Brown?
I just had one more question for you. Because, and I hate to say it again, I've been hanging out in Thornton so much. I appreciate all the work that our lifeguards do. but it got into that conversation of there's, the courses that they went through versus us using the Red Cross. From a grandmother's standpoint, I do like the other program, and I wanted to ask you why we haven't gone that route, or if we could use some of these funds to, since we would need more lifeguards and stuff like that. And I can't remember the type of program they run.
Alice training.
Yes.
So I'll let Justin talk a little bit about the difference between Red Cross and Ellis. We feel very confident in the training our
Oh, our
lifeguards
guys are
receive
great.
and have chosen to remain with the Red Cross program. When you asked another question in there, before I have him talk about that, what was the second, you had a second part of that question?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Was that, really, that's it. Could we, maybe, there were items that I really liked about it, but our guys do pretty much the same things, you know what I mean? But I was just wondering, maybe we could look at enhancing our lifeguards or, paying for their, I don't know if we,
That was the question you asked. Could
Yeah.
we use the dollars to pay for additional training?
Yes,
I
ma'am.
would say if it was directly associated with a new element that we paid for, maybe. It's a bit of the only direction we got was youth activity programs. I would say that's an indirect expenditure, so I'm not sure that we would want to take that risk.
Okay.
Of that being an ineligible source. We could absolutely ask. There's not a lot of guidance available.
right. And when they leave stuff so vague, kind of like makes you want to start thinking of other things. But yes, exactly.
Do you want to talk about the difference between Red Cross and Ellis?
Well, you know what? I don't want to take all the council's time. So I can reach out to you and you can explain it to me. Does that work? Because I'm probably, it's just for my own knowledge.
Councilmember Walker?
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to come full circle. I would support moving the PA funds out of option 2, either option 1 or option 3. Our parks are so wonderful here in the city, and giving more money towards those, hopefully completing, would be our 28th park, it would be, right?
Yes.
That would be an awesome jewel in our crown, so I would support that.
So I think I hear a proposal to move option 2 funding. Which direction?
Here,
Like option
I'll go
3?
back to
I
the
know.
detail slides if that's helpful. So option 1, was $30,000 specific for arts and culture scholarships. I've heard some conversation about the desire for scholarships that expanded beyond arts and culture to other general recreation programming. And that is not currently included on this slide. We already talked about option 2. Those are the dollars you're considering reallocation of. And then option 3, right now, we have the 200,000 identified for our aquatic adventure course, and the remaining amount of 134,396 for Odell Berry Park. I would suggest to you that you would probably be making a bigger impact for $30,000 to go to scholarships than to the park. Although I would love to see Odell Berry Park fully funded, I don't think that additional 30,000 is necessarily going to be the determining factor in whether we go forward or not.
Is there, I'm trying to think of other organizations. Is it not the community, trying to think. I just don't know who else you could give money to for the sports, but I really do
We'd have to
think,
go out and have that conversation.
yeah, I would support putting, leaving the 30,000 for the North Glen Arts and Humanities Foundation and finding an organization that can funnel the athletics piece so that kids that want to join a volleyball team or a basketball team, or that they also have an opportunity for a scholarship. That's more than half, because I know half is helpful, but it's kind of like the difference between free and reduced lunch. Sometimes they need free lunch, and I just think that would really benefit our community and use this money as it maybe was intended. So that's my thought on that one. I'll go with whatever council decides on the aquatic adventure courses. I don't think it's a huge bang for our buck kind of thing. I feel like I'd really like to get that park finished. And the closer we can get to that, that is a long-term free thing that I think we would have more access to more residents. So that's kind of my feeling. Councilmember Kondo.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm also expressing my support for what Councilmember Lukeman Haramasa talked about, moving the 30K out of option 2 and supporting option 1, and then preserving the balances in currently as it's shown on the slide for option 3.
Councilmember Jaramillo?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, just to basically reiterate everything everybody just said the last few times. You basically read my mind. I agree that we can make a huge difference with the scholarships, whether it is Arts and Humanities Foundation, theater, training for staff. So maybe those little things, those fees are keeping somebody from really moving forward. And I think that can really help us. I mean, if there's, let's say if everything was $100, that'd be 300 scholarships of $100. That's, and I mean, it doesn't sound like a lot, but if that's like a class or a fee to get certified, or as we mentioned too, a lot of the sports that we have, like let's say like Junior Nuggets, I mean, that's where I got started playing basketball and played basketball in high school after that. So I was like, wow, like it really helped, make that happen for me. I know a lot of kids nearby that maybe that's what's keeping them from doing that, is not having that funding to really live their dreams. So all in favor for 1 and 3, 2, as we mentioned, allocating those funds between. But I'm glad that everybody else is feeling kind of the same way. I'm just basically reiterating what everybody already said. But thank you.
Okay. Did we land anywhere?
I think what I heard from all of you, so tell me if I heard it correctly,
Yeah.
is slide 1 as is, 30,000 for Arts and Humanities Foundation for arts and culture scholarships. Add $30,000 to that slide for general recreation scholarships. No funding in option 2, and then leave slide 3 as it was presented.
Sounds good to me.
Right, well, staff has some work to do. We'll go figure out the scholarship piece, because that one we haven't explored fully yet.
Do you think it's a community foundation?
We do have the Community Foundation.
Okay.
It's understanding if the Community Foundation has the ability to be able to disperse funds without it being kind of one time. What does that look like as an ongoing program, and is there the capacity to do that? But we can have that conversation. We could also have some conversation with Five Star Foundation and some others here locally that might be able to partner with us in some way.
Okay. Great.
Oh, Justin just reminded me, we do have not Arts and Humanities Foundation, the Community Foundation is doing day camp scholarships to provide childcare and started those several years ago. I know we've have applications being reviewed in March. I do expect we'll be able to fully fund those from the funding that's budgeted in the Community Foundation for this year, so that's good news. But we will make that determination later this week.
There's also one other grant, that we have already received through the state, and that's for childcare subsidy and sustainability. So we are utilizing those funds over the course of a little bit this past year in 2022. We're gonna have to work with finance and Jason's team as well as human resources to make sure that we're moving forward appropriately. But looking at offsetting family expenses for childcare specific opportunities. So really our preschool and day camp program, and the way that we're looking at it and brainstorming, and we'll present to finance and human resources, is that we are truly giving back to these families and reducing all the fees to zero for a few weeks in the day camp program getting going in 2023, as well as a portion of the preschool expenses as well. So that's coming from the state, already received funds. So something that we're continuing to pursue all the time is looking at those other grant opportunities so that the youth of our community can be impacted in a positive way right now.
Thank you for that.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, our next discussion item, Adams County Comprehensive Safety Action Plan, TIP, application support. Sarah, come on up. Sarah Dusenberry, Senior Planner, is here to present. Well, hello.
Good evening. So yep, we're going to be talking about the Adams County CSAP application. So I want to provide information for the Comprehensive Safety Action Plan. It's an application to Dr. using TIP funds, Transportation Improvement Program funds, and also receive consensus on providing a requested local match. Get a quick overview of what a CSAP is and then the match request. So a Comprehensive Safety Action Plan will provide a prioritized list of projects that could improve traffic safety and provide solutions related to engineering, enforcement, education, emergency response, and policy. It will be a countywide study with all jurisdictions included. Every jurisdiction will receive a tailored comprehensive safety action plan, and then there will be one for the region as a whole. The CSAP will align with the FHWA Safer Streets for All criteria, which will look at any kind of current studies related to traffic safety as well as a crash data analysis. It'll provide that comprehensive set of projects and strategies, but will also include time ranges for when projects and strategies could be deployed, and an explanation of that prioritization. They'll look at goal setting with officials as well as public engagement. The equity consideration will look at underserved communities as well as vulnerable road users. And then finally, they'll look at any kind of current policies, guidelines, standards to identify opportunities to improve processes and that prioritize safety, as well as a discussion of implementation through policies, guidelines, or standards. So for the match request, the total project is looking at about $2 million, with 80% of that requested from DRCOG, so 1.6 million, and then a 20% match at 400,000. That match is will be divided between all 10 jurisdictions, and is based on population size. So North Glen's match is $15,000. We expect this will be about the equivalent of a $150,000 plan, the amount of information we get from it. There will not need to be any budget amendments for this year. No funds will be expended until after the IGAs are signed, which is not expected to happen until April next year at the earliest. So it would be included in the 2024 budget cycle. And that is all I have. Are there any questions?
Be cut and dry tonight.
Any
huh?
questions for Sarah? No, I think you get a thumbs up. Unless we have anyone concerned.
Thank you.
Great. Well done. All right, our next item is the Ward 1 City Council vacancy process. And our city clerk, Joanna Small, will introduce this item.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. So I would like to present a timeline for the process to fill the current Ward 1 vacancy that was created by the resignation of Mayor Pro Tem Ashley Witkovich. So when a vacancy occurs, as you're well aware, the city charter and the municipal code requires the remaining members of the council to appoint a qualified member to fill the vacancy within 30 days of the date that the vacancy was created. So based on the resignation date of February 18th, the 30-day deadline is March 20th. The person appointed to fill the vacancy will only serve the remainder of the term until the next city election, which will be November 7th, and that's approximately 9 months. The staff memo provides a table that shows the timing of previous council vacancies and then how those vacancies were filled, but I'm going to skip ahead to the proposed schedule that's also included in the memo. So after tonight, so February 28th through March 3rd, the remainder of this week, postcards to notify residents about the opportunity to apply for the vacancy would be prepared, printed, and mailed to all Ward 1 households as soon as possible. The city's official notice would be finalized later tonight and sent to the Denver Post for publication on Wednesday, March 1st to meet the notice requirement. And then additional notice would be provided, just like we've done in the past, with an online with a dedicated web page to the vacancy, and then announcements made on social media. The application period for the vacancy would be March 1st through March 14th. Applications would be accepted electronically, by mail, and in person. Staff is suggesting Saturday, March 18th for council to interview applicants. I do want to note that the Mayor's Mingle event is also scheduled for that same morning, so the interviews could start at around 11:30 a.m. or later, depending on council's desire. There were two other options identified. One is Wednesday, March 15th. That is the very next day following the application deadline. It would be a very tight turnaround, but it would provide a weekday meeting. The meeting could run past 10 p.m. though, depending on the number of applications received. And of course, we wouldn't know that number until the day before. And then Friday, March 17th, which also happens to be St. Patrick's Day. So staff would like council consensus on the date to conduct the interviews. That way we can print it on the postcards, we can include it in the application form and on the website so that applicants can plan accordingly when they decide to apply. Then on Monday, March 20th, council would appoint a Ward 1 member at the special meeting that's already scheduled for that evening, which would be timely because March 20th is that 30-day deadline. If an appointment cannot be made by the 30-day deadline, the city council would then be required to call a special election at the very next regular meeting following that 30-day period. That would be on April 10th, and then that special election would need to be conducted within 75 days of being called. The estimate for a standalone city election right now for Ward 1 is $45,000. And then I quickly wanted to run through, not necessarily run through the draft application, just point out a couple items about the application. It's included as attachment 1 to the staff memo. It contains the same questions that were just used last month for the Ward 4 vacancy. Couple changes. Language has been added to the form to let applicants know that they can attach additional sheets as necessary. They can access electronic application options on the city's website, and those were available before. We just want to emphasize that. And they can also contact the city clerk's office if they need an application form with larger font or an increased field size for their responses. Staff will revise the application form based on council's input tonight. And then to finalize that, staff is seeking feedback from council on the application form and then council consensus on the schedule. With the current schedule, staff would initiate the process starting tomorrow. So I'm happy to answer any questions.
Councilmember Goff?
It's not a question, but I will be out of town and coming back on March 17th. So I don't know how much that would affect the decision. So this is about doing interviews.
Okay. Councilmember Kondo?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So for Ms. Small, my question is, if somebody comes in and picks up the form or they print it, are we going to put a little bit more space if there are candidates that are handwriting their responses? I just recall from the last time we did this that some folks were just, totally limited by the amount of white space, so to speak. And then others that decided to fill it out electronically, clearly they could type as much as they want. How do we make sure that there is equity or fairness, whether somebody's filling it in electronically as opposed to by hand?
Right. So we don't require applicants to submit an application a certain way, and that's intended to be more inclusive. We have folks that love to use computers. We also have folks that love to handwrite their answers. We will allow more space, and that's why we've added the additional text to the application. And we'll also make sure that people know this in person and on the website. Those couple items that they can access different types of forms. There will be a Word version of the application online, so that can be manipulated. Or they can request an application, with larger spaces as well. We definitely don't want to limit anybody's responses, and they can also attach additional sheets. So.
Got it. Thank you.
Well, why don't we start with the date? I'm advocating for the Saturday after the mayor's mingle, just because I think it'll be easier for most people, and it sounds like Councilmember Goff will be out. Does that work for anybody else? Like, Rich can make it? Does that not work for anybody?
I'll be out of town that weekend.
Okay. Are you advocating for another time in that window?
I'd like to request a Wednesday date if possible, given that's gonna be my ward mate.
Okay.
Wednesday.
Is there a possibility I mean, I don't even know.
I think so. Um, Is that Wednesday?
Yes.
You're asking for the 15th?
Yeah, so there's options you want to put it in there.
So, Rich, there is a Dr. Cog meeting.
I don't think I can do Wednesday.
That is correct. Dr. Cog is on Wednesday, the 15th, 6:30.
Can we fit in a different day that week? Are you there, are you here every day that?
What about, does Thursday work for anybody?
I can't do the 16th.
Okay.
I'm more likely to do the 14th. That's not even, that's too soon, right?
Couldn't, yeah.
Because that's when they're due.
Bless you.
Well, I think we might be stuck. Councilmember Brown? Do you have a
Oh.
question?
No,
Oh, I thought you said, yeah.
no, I just can't do the,
Well,
but then again, you know, if it matters, I might be able to, but I have to do some moving around and stuff. So if that's what you all want,
How's everybody looking on Friday?
the 17th?
the 17th?
St. Patrick's Day. Not going out partying.
Too old for that.
I can make that happen. I just don't know if applicants will love a Friday night, but I don't
I'm
know.
not thrilled
Maybe
Friday.
that's criteria.
Yeah?
I know. So when are you out of town? Just Saturday forward,
Well,
not Friday night?
I'd stick around in town for Friday if I could.
Well, I mean, I could see, we could make the 15th work, because I do understand it's your ward mate, so we should prioritize your availability.
Do we have quorum 15th?
Do we have what?
Will we have enough people for a meeting on the 15th?
Who can do the 15th? Yeah. So should we do that? And then Catherine, if you can zoom in. But don't prioritize it if you're on vacation. You're on vacation. It's crazy when people leave the beach for that. Like,
Oh,
don't do
it's not
that.
the beach.
Okay.
If we did the,
Might be in the car.
Oh, okay. Yes.
if we did the 15th, what would be the start time? Could we start maybe at 5 or maybe a little earlier than, 6 or 7?
I'm up for that. You want to start at
Are
5?
you okay with that?
I'll do whatever.
5?
5?
Five?
Yeah, that would
Okay.
help a lot.
So Madam Mayor, I will be absent. Is that okay? Is that going to cause a problem with your quorum,
Are you going to
Given the
be
Dr.
absent
Cog
for what?
Dr. Cog?
Oh, you can miss Dr. Cog.
Okay,
Said that publicly. Yes, you can
thank you
miss.
for encouraging my truancy.
We'll get you the notes. We'll find a neighbor who can help you out. Okay, so 5 o'clock on the 15th. And remind me what else you need from us?
Any feedback on the application form, if council desires?
I mean, I heard Councilmember Condo's recommendation for space, so I don't know. I mean, I think they can make a choice if they want to write notes by hand or fill it out online, right?
Absolutely, yep.
Yeah.
And add extra paper.
Yeah, and they can attach extra. That's true.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
I mean, I might not be involved in this, but the questions during the interview or even like interview process? Is that going to be discussed? We're just going to do it the same way and the same question?
Would you like to suggest?
Well, I just wondered about maybe not doing the same questions because it's so recent that people could look them up.
I'm okay leaving it the same for the sake of ease for the staff and for ourselves. I don't know that anybody in Ward 1 is gonna do the research, but
Okay.
yeah, I mean, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. We can get fancy. I like the questions. How about, let's ask Tim, how was your experience with the
Oh, my
questions?
goodness.
Did you like them?
They were wonderful.
Would you like us to change them?
No, I won't go there. I was prepared, though, to go through all 20 if I had the opportunity. So there's preparation to think through how you might respond, so I think they were fair, yeah. I did find out after the fact where you put your emphasis. Curious to listen. Other than that, I thought they were fairly stated. Yeah.
Okay.
And no more staff time. I mean, let's save the brain damage if we can.
Yeah. Yep. Good. Sounds good to me. Okay, well, it sounds like we have a tight timeline, so we gotta get all the communication out. So Nick,
Thank you for your
Spread the
support,
word.
y'all. Yes, ma'am.
spread the word.
You're bringing dinner.
Okay, final discussion item, Colorado Municipal League Conference Lodging. City Manager Guyer will present this item.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Jason Loveland, our Director of Finance, is also here to support any answering of questions, conversation around this item. So we added this item to the council agenda on Friday as a result of the CML conference registration opening last week, I believe midweek. The conference for 2023 is being held at the Gaylord of the Rockies facility. As you see in the staff memo, we have a policy that identifies that the conference location would not be an eligible expense as the location is less than 35 miles from City Hall. I did have Susan pull some rough estimates, and I can share those with council if you'd like in terms of the mileage. So in order for council to move forward with any policy deviation and the background about the year the policy was adopted and the why behind the policy, we can certainly talk more about. But a deviation from the eligible business expense would need to be discussed with the finance director, so I brought that to Jason's attention. And council needs to have discussion tonight and provide direction if you want to deviate on that policy, in which case that would allow council members to stay at the Gaylord of the Rockies facility for lodging. So the question before you tonight is, do you want to deviate from your current policy so you can stay on site at the Gaylord of the Rockies instead of traveling back and forth?
One thing I noticed recently in my email is, so those of you who have not attended CML, there are often evening events, dinners that are hosted that you'll get invites to, and those are on site at the Gaylord. And so that makes me a little nervous because history would say that those become really robust, fun evenings. And so I think it's safer for us to stay on site. So I'm going to recommend that we stay put, just because I think it's wise.
I have a,
Yes, yeah.
would this include parking? Because parking out there, really.
Jason is saying yes.
Is it cheaper to Uber out there and then stay?
Well, I think it was like $50 a night, so,
Oh, that's.
Yeah, I think it
so
was 40
something like that, yeah.
So maybe it's advisable either to carpool or even just take an Uber out there, and stay, not leave your vehicle.
Yeah, I'm just asking, because I probably wouldn't leave my,
Yeah, that's significant. Okay, so we have council consensus to deviate from your policy this year for the 2023 CML conference.
That's what I think. Yeah?
Okay.
Good. And if
We're
you're not
good.
registered, I recommend that you do. There's a lot of learning and it's a great, so.
Yes, please reach out to Susan as soon as possible so she can get you rooms, get you registered, because things do fill up quickly. Thank you.
Great, thank you. All right, final item, public invited to be heard. This is an item for public comment. Statements are limited to 3 minutes per speaker. I don't think there's anyone here that would like to speak to council at this time, but I will give it a minute. Nope. Okay. Is there anyone on the phone who would like to speak to council? Nope, okay. We're going to move into executive session. I will entertain a motion to adjourn to executive session pursuant to Section 4.5A of the city charter for personnel matters regarding a follow-up discussion with Civic Canopy.
So moved.
Second.
All right, please open the vote.
Vote is open.
Please vote.
Councilmember Kondo, how do you vote?
Yes.
Thank you. I will close that vote, and the motion to adjourn to executive session passes unanimously.
Great. Hey, Justin, can you wait a second? I just have a question. We will adjourn to executive session. It takes a few minutes to break down technology, and we are going to move off the dais and sit with Bill.